Over the past year, I've been challenging myself to take the manga characters' teams to see if they could beat a Hardcore Nuzlocke in their home region. Because when your main goal is to tell a fun story, sometimes the team ends up taking a big hit. So in this video, we're visiting Platinum to see if her team can complete a Hardcore Nuzlocke of the Sinnoh region. It may be harder than you think though, because if a Pokemon faints, it's gone forever, and even though Platinum came from a very rich background, her team basically consists of Route 1 stinkers. So to start our journey, we've got to give ourselves a name, but since Platinum's name is just one character too long, we've got to abbreviate it a little to make it fit. We also name our rival Pearl, and with a little bit of behind the scenes editing, we can give Pearl his starter Chimler as we start with our signature Piplup. In the manga, Platinum was gifted her Piplup from Professor Rowan, but she had a little trouble getting off the ground. At the start of their journey, Platinum was attacked by some wild Kricketot and Kricketune, and although Piplup tried her best to fend them off, she just wasn't strong enough to defeat the horde. That was a huge blow to Piplup's pride. I mean, come on, it's Kricketot, like, it's not that hard. But later on to redeem herself, Piplup would end up being the MVP in the battle against Rourke as she tanked a powerful shockwave before taking out his Cranidos to win the battle. So with a nickname theme settled on and our Pokédex obtained, it's time to start our journey as we make our way over to Orberg City. But before we take on the gym leader, we can catch one more team member in the patch of grass up north, that being Platinum's first team member Ponyta. In the manga, Platinum brought Ponyta from home as she started her journey, but coming from this life of luxury, he wasn't exactly the best in terms of battling. Instead, he was mainly her form of transportation across Sinnoh as she rode on his back throughout their adventures. Actually, if you go to Platinum's Rapidash on Bulbapedia and scroll down to his description, it's just loss after loss. Lost to Rourke's Onix, lost to Gardenia's Roserade despite the type advantage. They start picking up more wins later on, but I think the universe was trying to tell them something. So with our two team members, we've got everything prepared to face off against the first challenge of the run. Rourke leads with his Geodude as we're starting the battle with Martlet. Since we naturally outspeed, we can one-shot him with the quad effective bubble, taking him out as Rourke sends out Onix. Onix is actually pretty speedy, so he's able to set up the stealth rocks, but a follow-up bubble actually isn't enough to take him out. This causes the AI to heal with the potion, but it's not enough to save him from another bubble. That only leaves Rourke's final team member, his ace Cranidos, but since we're at full HP, we're safe to stay in and tank his headbutts, dodging the flinch twice before getting a torrent boosted bubble to secure the two-shot. If we had gotten flinched, that would probably be a reset, but Martlet the GOAT was able to hold strong and secure us the victory. After the battle, we also evolve into Prinplup, and with Rock Smash now available, we can make our way over to Eterna City for the next challenge. On our way there, we first got to pick up some more teammates, the first of which being out here in Valley Windworks. It's a disappointing encounter, but we catch Mooch the Pachirisu, who in the manga was actually a gift from Volkner. In fact, half her team was actually gifted by gym leaders to help in their showdown against Dialga and Palkia. That includes our next encounter, who's actually a Honey Tree encounter, that being Axis the Cherubi. In the manga, Platinum's Cherim was given to her by Gardenia to help out in that very same battle. She's another disappointing encounter since their low base stats are gonna pose a challenge for us later on, but we've gotta make do with what we've got. So after clearing through the Galactic Grunts in Valley Windworks, including flawlessly taking out Mars' Perugly with the combination of our 4 team members, we make our way through Eterna Forest, rescuing Cheryl and grabbing one final encounter, Clover the Baniri. In the manga, Platinum actually caught Lopunny all on her own. The first time we see her was in the battle against Candace, where she used her high speed to defeat the bulky Abomasnow. When Candace sent out her Frostlass, the strategy no longer worked, so Lopunny sacrificed herself with the Healing Wish to bring Rapidash back out to win the battle. Obviously, we won't be doing that since Healing Wish would cause us to faint, but since Baniri is a friendship evolution, we can run around a bunch to boost our friendship, meaning we can have a fully evolved Lopunny before the second gym. So with everything prepared, we might as well head in to take her on. Gardenia leads with Turtwig, whose main objective is to set up Sunny Day, so we lead with Starlo. And with our high speed stat, we can immediately outspeed and connect with a Flame Wheel, getting the one-shot and putting us at an immediate advantage. Gardenia sends out Cherim next, who is tanky enough to survive a Flame Wheel, but not strong enough as a weak Magical Leaf only chips us a bit. Another Flame Wheel can secure the knockout, leaving only her ace Roserade as her final mon. We continue going for Flame Wheel, being nearly a one-shot as Roserade munches on her Citrus Berry for some recovery. She counters back with the Stun Spore, paralyzing us and cutting our speed, so on the next turn, Roserade outspeeds with the Magical Leaf, but it's just not enough damage as Starlo breaks through the para and connects with the final Flame Wheel, taking her out and winning us our second gym badge. With access to the Cut HM, we can break into the Galactic Building to take out Jupiter and her Skuntank. Our max power returns let us hold our own against this run ender, allowing Clover to cleanly take her out as we rescue the bike owner. And with our fancy new bike, we make our way down Cycling Road and head into Mount Coronet. We have a confrontation with Cyrus here, and okay, watch as he leaves the room. He never heads up! You should be able to see his right arm here if you went up, so that means he must be hiding down here behind the rocks until we leave.
Bruh.
And just like that, we've made it to Hearthome City, but with no new team members or evolutions at our level cap, I decided to get ourselves ready for the upcoming gym battle. Fantina leads with Duskull as we're starting with Starlo. I had to do a ton of planning for this fight, and leading with our fire type to be immune to the Will-O-Wisp was the best answer I could find. So after a couple Flame Wheels, Duskull goes down as Fantina sends out her Haunter. But since the Shadow Claw is definitely coming, we have a free switch into Clover for the immunity, and with our decent bulk and Duskull's horrible special attack, we can easily survive the Future Sight from earlier. And here's a strat that I cooked up. Since we don't get any coverage to hit Fantina's ghost types, we use Foresight to allow our normal type attacks to land. We do get put to sleep with Hypnosis, and since we unfortunately have the Klutz ability,
You stupid.
we're not able to eat our Chesto Berry to wake up. But with our decently high bulk, Clover can stay in and tank a Sucker Punch before bringing Haunter down to a sliver with a return. Haunter puts us back to sleep as Fantina opts to heal again, but by wasting turns with Foresight to avoid the Sucker Punch, we can survive long enough to wake up and fire off another return, this time getting a high roll and taking them out. That only leaves her ace Mismagius, but since we're still at a fairly high HP, we can rinse and repeat by going for a Foresight and then return. It deals a fair chunk of damage, but since we're confused, I've got to play around the Psybeam crit by switching into Axis. We're also decently tanky, so we can survive the Psybeam and Shadow Ball, letting us set up with Leech Seed. So by switching back into Clover on the baited Shadow Ball, and the Seeds taking a notch of their health each turn, we can once again go for our Foresight and return strategy to finish off her ace, winning us the battle and letting us collect our third gym badge. So far, I'm having a lot of fun with these guys, especially that they're such an unconventional team. It forces us to use these odd strategies, and spoilers for the endgame, but there's an infamous Dark and Ghost type Pokemon with no weaknesses that actually does have a weakness if you use Foresight, so we've just got to keep our team alive to pull off that strat. Hey, real quick, I just want to say I hope you guys are enjoying these battles too. I try my best to come up with these unique strategies and also to convey them effectively in the video, so I hope that you guys are liking it. Of course, if you are, I'd really appreciate it if you could help me out and leave a like on the video. It'll help you out as well, since YouTube will recommend you similar Nuzlocke content, so it's a win-win. Win-win-win.
With win-win-win, we all win.
We've got our eyes set on the next town, so we can head through the routes, passing through Solaceon Town, trekking through the rainy Route 215, and finally arrive at Veilstone City. Crasher waits outside the gym, but he's not our current target. Our actual target's a fighting type master, and looking at our team, we're not exactly well equipped to deal with that. So going into this battle, I don't exactly have a great plan. I've got concepts of a plan, so let's see how it goes. Maylene leads with Metatite, as we're starting off with Mooch. We always get faked out on the first turn, but the cool thing about Mooch's moveset is we get access to a bunch of support moves. So we immediately use Charm to lower their attack, letting us easily tank the incoming Rock Tomb. Another Charm brings them to -6 attack, so at this point, it's pretty safe to take them out with Discharge. 2 is enough to finish the job, as Maylene immediately sends out her ace Lucario. He actually outspeeds us and hits us with a Drain Punch, but we hold strong as our Oranberry heals back a little. Then we continue going for charm strats, lowering them to -3 attack, which we can see in effect as we easily tank their next Force Palm. So after another charm to obliterate their attack even further, we can switch into Axis on the next Drain Punch as we set up the Leech Seeds. Then, with everything set up, we can send out Starlo to use Flame Wheel, taking out Lucario in 2 hits as we sponge all their attacks. That only leaves Machoke, so we stay in to use Growl for a few turns, like a pseudo charm strat, as Machoke returns pitiful damage with Rock Tomb. And after getting them to -6, we can switch out ourselves into Martlet, taking a strength on the way in as we fire back with Bubble Beam. 2 shots are enough for the KO, meaning we've just charmed our way through a pretty difficult battle, making that 4 badges down with half the region left to conquer. At this point in the game, Team Galactic steals Diamond's Pokédex, which is pretty funny to me because it's not really that important to the game. Like, you can go your whole journey without even opening the Pokédex once. But in the manga, it's this whole ordeal, like the dex holders are such an important group, but you don't really need it to succeed. Well, regardless, we take out the grunts to take it back, as Mooch easily dispatches their underlevel Pokemon with a couple Thunderbolts. That means our next destination's down south, which is gonna be the beautiful Pastoria City, home of the Great Marsh, and also our next gym challenge. So we made our way through the routes, passing through Valor Lakefront, and arriving at our destination. Before we can head into the gym, Pearl challenges us to yet another fight, but the difficulty hasn't ramped up yet. His Pokemon aren't even fully evolved, so we can quickly clean up his team before heading in to prepare for the upcoming fight. And in order to prepare, we've got a noteworthy evolution, as Martlet evolves into her final form in Polion, but truth be told, I'm not exactly scared for this fight. So with the rest of the team at the level cap, it's time to head in for our next badge. Crasher Wake makes a reappearance as he leads with Gyarados, but we've got the perfect counter, that being our little Mooch. And despite the Intimidate drop, we can outspeed and fire off a quad-effective Thunderbolt, dealing way too much damage as Gyarados gets taken out. Crasher Wake sends out Quagsire next, so we've got to pivot out with a U-turn, bringing in Martlet on the switch. We tank the Mud Bomb, and on the following turn, we can fire off a max power Grass Knot, getting another clean one-shot as Quagsire goes down. Floatzel comes out last, and this is why Axis is taking the backseat on this one, since we'd be locked into Petal Dance and risk an Ice Fang on the revenge kill. But with Martlet out, our Grass Knot nearly takes them out as their Citrus brings them out of heal range. So one final Grass Knot can secure us the victory, winning us the battle and letting us collect our 5th gym badge. As we head out of the gym, Team Galactic's causing trouble around town and disturbing the Great Marsh, so it's now our responsibility to step in and save the day. So after chasing them all the way to Lake Valor, we take them out in front of Cynthia, which earns her trust as she asks us to follow her to Celestic Town. So it's time for another mini adventure as we make our way back to Solaceon Town, head up north to clear out the horde of Psyduck, backtrack a bit to grab the Defog HM and a Staravia for Defog, clear out the thick fog, and make our way into Celestic Town. Before we can link up with Cynthia's grandma, we first gotta take out the Galactic Grunt and Cyrus himself. But since this is only the first battle, it's no challenge at this point as we easily clear through the battles, and with Cynthia's grandma impressed, we're gifted the HM for Surf, ending this little trek of the journey as Canalave is now accessible to us by water. So it's time to get our feet wet as we make our way over, but before we head too deep into the city, I make sure to get the team prepared for the upcoming rival fight. This is the most infamous game ender in my opinion, so I made sure to have everyone ready, including evolving Starlo into his final form. So with the plan in place, let's see if this battle will be the end of our attempt 1. Pearl leads with Staraptor, so I made sure to start with Mooch for the hard counter. We can immediately outspeed and fire off a Thunderbolt, and with our 4-level advantage, that's an easy one-shot. Pearl sends out Heracross next, so before switching out, we go for our Charm strats again as we force the AI to go for -6 Brick Breaks. It barely chunks any of our health, so we can safely pivot into Starlo to take the Beetle out with a Flamethrower. Floatzel comes out next, so that's an easy switch into Martlet on a weak Aqua Jet. We can sponge the next Swift too, before bringing the Weasel to 1 HP with a Grass Knot. But Pearl's AI actually hard switches on the next turn, bringing in Infernape on the attack. But since I was fairly confident that we could live a Brick Break, I decided to just stay in and finish off the monkey. And we do. We tanked the attack, allowing us to fire back with a Surf for the one-shot. Looking back, I definitely should have equipped a berry to reduce that damage, but we're in the clear now as Rose Raid comes out. I immediately switch into Starlo as Rose Raid only sets up the toxic spikes. But a couple flamethrowers can torch the flower, leaving only Pearl's Floatzel from earlier, who gets immediately outsped and taken out, meaning we've just made it past one of the toughest checkpoints in the mid-game. But it's out of the fire and into the frying pan, as we've got our 6th gym badge to collect. Byron leads with Magneton, and I just want to say, this is totally unrelated, but Byron's always had the goofiest name to me. It's probably because I'm Chinese, right? And in Chinese, the name Byron sounds like Bai Ren, which just translates to white people. Like Bai means white and Ren means people, so you put it together and you've got white people as a 6th gym leader. Well, regardless, we're leading with Starlo, who can immediately outspeed and one-shot his lead with a stab super effective flamethrower. Byron sends out Steelix next, but since his special defense is so low, we're safe to stay in and use Flamethrower again. He actually tanks it on 1 HP, but instead of using Earthquake, he opts to set up the Sandstorm instead. To be honest, I think because we were holding a Shuka Berry to reduce the super effective ground attack, he might have been disincentivized to use it, but we would have been safe anyway. And on top of that, the Sandstorm doesn't even give Steelix this special defense boost since he's not a rock type anymore. So even after Byron heals, a second flamethrower is able to land a better roll, taking him out in just one hit. That only leaves his ace Bastiodon, but we can very safely switch into Martlet since we completely wall him. We can target him on the special side and hit him with a Surf, as his AI sees Stone Edge as doing more damage since Metal Burst is a steel move and therefore quad resisted. Stone Edge barely makes a dent, so we can clean up with the final Surf to win us the battle and secure us our 6th gym badge. See ya, Byron! As we leave the gym, we get chartered to the Canalave Library, where Professor Rowan dumps a bunch of story on us. But that doesn't last long, as Team Galactic has set off a bomb at one of the lakes, meaning it's now our job to fix this. We can skip all the Galactic grunts, and inside the little cave here, we can also easily defeat Saturn thanks to our level difference. Then we can go and help out Diamond at Lake Verity, where we've got a revenge matchup against Mars, but we've got some additional team members she didn't see last time, as Clover comes out to clean up her ugly cat with a few drain punches. That only leaves Lake Acuity, so we pack our bags to make our way up Mount Coronet. After clearing through the puzzles, we arrive at the other side, where it's so cold that it's even snowing year-round. That's where we can find our 6th and final team member, a Snowrunt named Soroba. She's gonna evolve into Frostlass later on, and in the manga, Platinum was given her Frostlass by Candace at the same time as Cherim and Pachirisu. She's going to be a vital member of the team, as her ice coverage is greatly appreciated, and with our now full team of 6, we can continue through the blizzard to arrive at Snow Point City. Our next gym challenge is here, but before we challenge her, I make sure to quickly backtrack to Mount Coronet from the southern entrance to pick up the Dawnstone. This lets us evolve our newest team member, and with a fully evolved team, we're pretty set for the upcoming fight. You'll see I cooked up a pretty good strat, so with everything prepared, it's time to take her on. Candace leads with Sneasel as we're starting the battle with our Starlo, and with the wide lens to boost our accuracy, our Fire Blast ends up being a one-shot to put us at an instant lead. That immediately baits out Piloswine, but I know that her special defense isn't that high, so we've just gotta land the Fire Blast. That 85% accuracy boosted to 93.5% connects for a second time. And just like we planned, Piloswine drops to 0, meaning that's half her team down. Obamna comes out, likely seeing the Water Pulse option, but we can switch to Flamethrower for the quad effective attack for another simple one-shot. That only leaves her Frostlass, and with the Hail setup from Obamna Snow, she's now got an evasion boost thanks to her Snow Cloak ability, so after missing our Fire Blast, Frostlass gets a chance to set up a double team, so it's time to switch over to the more accurate Flamethrower. Our first one brings them super low, activating their Citrus Berry, but even after Candace heals, we're able to connect with another Flamethrower, getting a critical burn and bringing it home, winning us the battle and letting us collect our 7th gym badge. With Rock Climb accessible to us, we can make our way to Lake Acuity, where it looks like we were just a little late as Pearl had gotten his butt whooped by Jupiter. So to avenge our friend's dignity, we've got to track them down to their headquarters in Veilstone City, and after a little breaking and entering, we find them all huddled together for a team meeting. It's a little risky to take them on now since they'd outnumber us, so after they disperse, we can track down Cyrus in his control room to take him out. Since this isn't the final Cyrus fight, his team isn't a challenge at all, so a little further down and we can find Saturn with the 3 lake spirits. Our new team member Soroba helps us out by taking out Toxicroak with the help of her ghost immunity, and with the lake spirits freed, that kicks off the climax of the story. It's a bit of a hike to get there, but we make our way up Mount Coronet to arrive at Sphere Pillar. Team Galactic's already starting their plans here, so we can team up with Pearl for the double battle against the admins. Our double starter core secures us the win, but unfortunately, they've held us off long enough because Cyrus activates the red chain to bring forth Dialga and Palkia. This also brings an unexpected visitor as Giratina jump scares us, dragging Cyrus into the distortion world. Cynthia runs up and says we've got to follow them through the ominous black portal, which, no? Why would Cynthia do that? Is she stupid?
White people be like, Billy, where are you, Billy? Is that you? Black people be like, forget Billy, Billy's dead!
So after clearing through the strength puzzles, we've got one more run ender to face, that being the final Cyrus fight. I did a lot of planning for this one, so as he leads with his Houndoom, I decide to start the battle with Martlet. We take the Will-O-Wisp, which doesn't affect our special attacks, as we fire back with a super effective Surf for the one-shot. This baits out Gyarados next, since he sees a super effective Earthquake, and unfortunately, since we brought Staravia for Fly, I have to pivot through Clover on the EQ. But that's all according to plan, as we can nerf his attack with the Charm, letting us tank the incoming Waterfall, and after further obliterating his attack on the next turn, that gives us an easy opportunity to switch into Mooch to take him out with the quad effective Thunderbolt. It turns out, we're just shy of the KO, so after tanking the Earthquake, we can just take him out on the next turns even after Cyrus burns his heals. Gyarados goes down, meaning that's 2 down with 3 to go. Cyrus sends out Weavile next, but Martlet completely walls them with their Steel typing, so we can finish him off with a couple Surfs. Cyrus sends out Honchkrow next, but again, I know we're safe to stay in and tank their only viable move, which is the pathetic Heat Wave. Our Ice Beam nails him hard and scores us the KO, which leaves only Crobat, who again can't really touch our Steel type. But the burn's been ticking away for a while now, so I can go into our other Crobat counter, Soroba, who can connect with the Wide Lens boosted Blizzard, taking out the bat and winning us the battle. And so, with the story basically wrapped up, we can completely ruin Cyrus's plans by taking out Giratina with a couple of Ice Beams. And just like that, Team Galactic is no more. So, with our sights set on the last badge, we can make our way over to Sunny Shore City, and with one last push to get our team prepared, it's time to take them on. Volkner leads with Jolteon, as we're starting the battle with Mooch. To be totally honest, this battle's not exactly the best matchup for our team, and this Jolteon's the perfect example. There are some team members that I can't afford to have our speed cut by Thunder Wave, so I start with Mooch to use Super Fang. We bring him to half as Jolteon paralyzes us, and on the next turn, this is where the scary part is because Jolteon connects with a Charge Beam, which immediately gets the boost. We miss our Super Fang in return, so I try again on the next turn, tanking another Charge Beam, which gets another boost as Mooch immediately gets paralyzed. Jolteon connects with a third Charge Beam, but luckily he doesn't get the boost as we munch away on our Citrus Berry. Mooch finally gets her act together, connecting with a U-turn to pivot into Clover. And now we can finally take him out, outspeeding and finishing them off with a return. This always baits Raichu, who sees a super effective Focus Blast, so we can safely switch into Soroba on the immunity. On the next turn, we set up the Hail, giving us the Snow Cloak evasion boost and the Blizzard accuracy boost as Raichu connects with a Charge Beam. A follow-up Blizzard brings Raichu to literally 1 HP, so after tanking another Charge Beam, the Hail Chip can finish him off, which then baits out Luxray because he sees Crunch as the best move. I switch into Martlet to tank it, and a little bit of pivoting can bring Mooch in to use Charm, and then Clover for the second Charm, and with his attack now at -6, we can finish off Luxray with a few Drain Punches while keeping ourselves pretty healthy. Last out is Electivire, but Charm is just way too strong as we outspeed and put him to -3 to tank the first Thunder Punch, then -6 to easily tank the second. Then a couple returns can take him out, meaning we've just won our 8th and final gym badge with only one last hurdle ahead of us. So it's just a quick journey over as we make our way through Victory Road, and the battles weren't that tough, but there was one funny interaction where a Clefable set up a gravity for us, so Starlo could guarantee the connect with their inaccurate moves. We arrive at the gates of the Elite Four, and before we head in, Pearl does challenge us one last time, but at this point, our level cap is increased so much that it's not really an issue. Mooch takes out his lead Staraptor before tagging out into Soroba to finish off Snorlax with a Blizzard. Then we can also chain the kill onto his Floatzel with Shadow Ball, but when Infernape comes out, we've got to switch into Starlo on the Flamethrower. A couple strengths can finish off his Monkey, and we can actually chain some more kills as Heracross goes down to a Flare Blitz, as well as his remaining Roserade, meaning the final Pearl fight is out of the way. So, with only the Elite Four gauntlet ahead of us, we step into the chambers for our toughest challenge yet. Aaron is up first, who starts the battle with Yanmega, but since the Elite Four's level cap is 10 levels higher than his lead, our Starlo can outspeed and fire off a Flare Blitz, getting the one-shot while only taking the recoil in return. In fact, most of Aaron's team gets taken out by our Flare Blitz, including his incoming Vespiquen, as well as his follow-up Heracross. But this recoil damage is just too much for us, so even though it would be tempting to fire off a quad-effective Flare Blitz into Caesar, I opt to switch into Martlet since we resist every single move he's got. A few Surfs can finish him off, which only leaves Drapion as his final Pokemon, but we again resist all of his attacks, meaning a couple more Surfs finishes the battle, making that one down with 3 more to go. By the way, Aaron's room is so cool. You can even go into this giant log here. It's totally unrelated, but I just wanted to say that. Alright, up next is Bertha, a ground type specialist who leads with Whiscash as we're starting with Axis. It's finally her time to shine as Whiscash can hardly touch us, so we set up the Leech Seeds, then we got to +6 with Growth, and finally, after setting up a Sunny Day to activate our Flower Gift ability, it's time to bring it home. Whiscash goes down to a quad-effective Solar Beam, Gliscor, despite the flying typing, gets taken out in one shot, Golem, who doesn't have the Gen 5 Sturdy, gets one shot as well, Rhyperior, who doesn't even have Solid Rock, is another quad-effective one shot, and lastly, Hippowdon comes out to set up the Sand a bit too late, since the AI will always send him out last, as the rest of the team all have Fire or Ice coverage to prioritize. So instead, we just reset the Sun, and one last Solar Beam can finish him off, making that 2 down with 2 to go. Third up is Flint, who I'm not afraid to admit that he's the one I had to plan for the most out of all these fights. He leads with Houndoom as we're starting with Clover. We immediately outspeed and nail him with a Drain Punch, which actually scores a critical hit for the one-shot. I had this whole line in my head where he would survive and set up a Sunny Day, and then we would use the Sunny Day to activate our Flower Gift to get a special defense boost, blah blah blah, but that's not important anymore since we scored the critical hit. Well, this baits out Infernape, so we can just stay in and use Charm, nerfing his attack and letting us easily tank his Flare Blitz. Another Charm brings him to -6, and since he's got basically 0 attack left, we can just take him out with a couple returns. Flint sends out Flareon next, and this is where the real meat of the plan lies. So, by switching into Starlo, we can sponge the Overheat, causing their special attack to drop by 2 stages, and since this Flareon's other attacking moves are Giga Impact and Quick Attack, we can safely switch into Soroba without taking any damage. And since this now baits the Overheat, we can switch back and forth between Starlo and Soroba, cycling between the two as Flareon slowly brings himself to -6 special attack. After all 5 Overheats are used up, Soroba can safely take him out with a couple Shadow Balls, meaning this threat has been neutralized, but it's not even the most scary one, as now Rapidash hits the field. Our goal is to pivot into Mooch to use Charm, so first we switch into Starlo on the incoming Flare Blitz, and now that we're baiting a bounce, we can safely send out Mooch for our strat. So a couple Charms brings him to -6, and I think I might have broke this AI because it just kept going for bounce. So after a few Thunderbolts, we're able to finish him off. That only leaves his Ace Magmortar, so we can switch into Martlet on the Flamethrower, and this always baits Thunderbolt from Magmortar, but our held Walkin' Berry lets us tank it. We fire back with the Surf, getting the clean one-shot and letting us walk away with the most difficult battle under our belt, making that 3 down with only 3 to go. Alright, time for number 4. After that last battle, I'm pretty much ready for anything, especially Lucian's team of Psychic types. He leads with Mr. Mime as we're starting with Ceroba. So on the first turn, we immediately outspeed, and with our Expert Belt boosting the power of our super effective moves, we can easily get the one-shot with the Shadow Ball. This baits out Bronzong, who I thought was going for Gyro Ball, so I bring out Starlo. It turns out, Bronzong's actually going for a Calm Mind, but that's no problem for our physical Flare Blitz, connecting and breaking through Bronzong's sheer bulk for the one-shot. Lucian always sends out Gallade here since he sees the super effective Stone Edge, so we can pivot into Martlet for the resist. And we know that he's 100% going for Drain Punch, so we can safely pivot into Ceroba to threaten Shadow Ball again. We outspeed and bring him to the yellow, but Gallade's special defense is crazy as he survives it and restores some health with the berry. That means he has a chance to fire back with the Stone Edge, but he just straight up misses. So one more Shadow Ball takes care of him as Lucian now sends out Espeon. But Ceroba's able to outspeed and land the one-shot with the Shadow Ball, and believe it or not, we actually outspeed Alakazam as well for the chain kill, meaning we've just taken out the final Elite Four member with only one last battle in our way. So with our team still fully intact, we march forward into the final room ready to take on the Queen of Sinnoh. Cynthia accepts our challenge, lowering her head as she sends out Spiritomb while we're starting the battle with Clover. Right off the bat, we go for our secret strategy that I mentioned back in the Fantina fight, that being Foresight. That allows us to hit ghost types, so after tanking a Dark Pulse, our Drain Punch is now super effective as we target Spiritomb's Dark type. Their pressure ability means we eventually need to switch to Return, but with Spiritomb taken care of, that means Cynthia's gonna send out Lucario next to get the Aura Sphere kill. That's a free switch into Ceroba, which is our opening to pivot through to Axis. Lucario is definitely a tricky one to take down, so after tanking an Aura Sphere, we need to set up the Leech Seed to help out the team. We can switch back into Ceroba on the next Aura Sphere, letting us take another notch of their health, and since we know that he's going for Stone Edge now, we can safely bring in Martlet for the resist. Then, it's just a simple game of switching back and forth on Ceroba for the Aura Sphere immunity and Martlet on the Stone Edge resist, and right before he'd fall into heal range, we can position ourselves with Ceroba and outspeed to take him out with a Psychic. Cynthia always sends out Garchomp here since the AI sees that he's carrying the super effective Flamethrower, so I need to set up the Hail. Not only does this give us the evasion boost thanks to our Snow Cloak ability, but after tanking a Dragon Rush, we can now connect with our 100% accurate Blizzard to one-shot our Ace. Cynthia sends out Milotic next, so to preserve our health, I switch out into Mooch to handle her. She's our wall breaker with Super Fang to always deal 50%, so after chunking her down a bit, we can pivot out with U-turn into Martlet, who just so happens to resist all her attacks. The only real threat is Mirror Coat, but since we one-shot the Heavy Serpent with the Grass Knot, we can easily secure the knockout. Cynthia sends out Togekiss next, but instead of switching to Ceroba on the obvious Aura Sphere, I gave Martlet a Chople Berry to guarantee we always live the hit. We retaliate with an Ice Beam, bringing them to half, but since we definitely don't live another one, I decide now to switch into Ceroba for the immunity. But Togekiss randomly, for no reason at all, goes for a Shockwave, nailing Ceroba with the hit and nearly taking us out. I don't have too many switch-ins, so I figured the best I could do was stay in and hope we land the Blizzard. We are holding the Wide Lens, which is exactly for moments like this where we don't have an opportunity to set up the Hail. We cross our fingers, and the Blizzard connects. Togekiss goes down, meaning we've only got one final team member to face. Cynthia sends out Roserade, but we can switch into Starlo, who easily eats the extra sensory, and with the powerful stab-boosted Flare Blitz, we connect for a big hit, getting the one-shot and taking out our final Pokemon, meaning we've just become the new champions of Sinnoh, proving once and for all that we can indeed beat Platinum despite all its difficult run-enders. With our terrible Route 1 ass team, we just need the help of a few berries and the most powerful move in the game. Nope, I'm not talking about Blizzard. I'm talking about Charm, baby.
In a Hardcore Nuzlocke, if a team member faints, it's gone forever. And with Diamond's team having an unevolved Munchlax, it's definitely gonna be an uphill battle. As a kid, I also never liked Sinnoh, so this will be my first time playing through Platinum, a game that many people agree is one of the harder ones in the series. I remember I didn't like the slow game engine or the very limited encounter pools because every playthrough would have basically the same team. But this playthrough made me see Sinnoh in a whole new light. All the boss fights were really fun, and I had to come up with some creative strategies to beat them. But that's enough spoilers, let's get started on our first adventure through Sinnoh. We start off in our room as Pearl barges in, telling us we gotta go find Professor Rowan. Haven't you heard of knocking? I'm never one to back down from an adventure, so we set out to look for him, but before we can step into the tall grass, Rowan stops us to give us a Pokemon to defend ourselves. We look at our options for a bit, but of course we go with True the Turtwig as our first team member. In the manga, Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum were traveling together, and Platinum thought they were meant to be her bodyguards. She entrusted Diamond with Turtwig and Pearl with Chimchar, so the two of them could fend off any wild Pokemon as they made their way through Sinnoh. With True on our team, we take out Pearl and get started on our adventure. As my first real venture into the Sinnoh region, I'm excited to see what Pokemon I can catch. Nothing. We can't catch anything yet. We've got True and only True to help us take on the first gym leader, and after pulling him out of the mines, we can take him on with our super effective grass moves. Geodude can't really do anything to us, so we can outspeed and one-shot him with the Razor Leaf. Onix is up next, but he misses a Screech, and our Absorb nearly takes him out. Rourke heals, but then we miss our next Razor Leaf. Onix connects with a Screech, harshly lowering our defense as we connect with the Razor Leaf, but Onix manages to hang on. Then, with his insane speed, Onix outspeeds and hits us with the Rock Tomb, but not before we take him out with the final Absorb. Last up is Rourke's Cranidos, who outspeeds and nails us with a huge headbutt. Lesson learned here, I should have set up Hardens on Geodude because if we miss this Razor Leaf, then we're toast. But True the Goat connects with a 95% accurate move, scoring the KO and winning us the battle. With the first gym badge acquired, that lets us use Rock Smash, so we head north of Jubilife to make more progress. That's where we find Professor Rowan confronting two Team Galactic grunts, and this man goes in on them. My man brings out the bullet points and roasts them 5 different ways before letting us have a piece too. You kids don't grow up to be like these sorry specimens. Damn bro, you did not have to go so hard.
You little... I got you! Down!
Stop! He's already dead.
We team up with Platinum and her Piplup to take them out before making our way over to the next town. Oh look, a wild Psyduck Spice. I wonder what words he's gonna mispronounce.
First up is Drapion.
Drapion.
Second is Skylar's ace, Swanana.
Swanana.
This time I have to take down the Fire-type trainer, Melia.
Melia.
Tulip starts with Thorathorig.
Thorathorig.
Third is Espira.
Espira.
So first out of our final 3 is Ortuga.
Ortuga.
I wish I could catch him, but Diamond doesn't use a Psyduck on his team, so instead, I'll just have to visit his channel to get my daily dose of Psyduck. With no new team members, some of these grunt battles can be challenging, especially the upcoming story at Valley Windworks. With opponents like Stunky and Zubat, it's incredibly hard to take them out as they're resisting our stab attacks. But with some strategic maneuvering and a held Pecha Berry, we can outlast their resistances and emerge victorious, getting us the Works Key. Thank you, you surely saved me. Those goons were trying to rob me of my sweet, sweet honey. Oh, you poor old man. I miss the days when that word only had one meaning. With the Works Key obtained, we've got a boss fight coming up, and that's Mars and her Perugly. I know this one's a notorious run-ender because a fully evolved Pokemon at this point in the game is gonna be tough to deal with, so I wanted to be prepared. I decided to hunt for the 1% Munchlax on the Honey Tree, which is probably the stupidest way to get a Pokemon, even dumber than Feebas and Hoenn. It takes 6 in-game hours to get an encounter, so I spent some time fast-forwarding, but ultimately no luck. It turns out, depending on your trainer ID and your secret ID, there's only 4 honey trees in the entire region that can have Munchlax. You're telling me it's not a flat 1% for all trees? So I checked my ID and nope, it's not this one. That leaves me with one option for the Mars fight, and that's to juice up True to be able to take on Purugly all on his own. First, we make sure to evolve into Grotle for the extra stats, which will make it easier to tank her attacks. Then, at level 20, we can easily take out her lead Zubat with a few tackles. Our held Pecha Berry comes in handy again and lets us shake off Zubat's Toxic, so we're sitting very comfortably by the time Purugly comes out. And through our high defenses, we can tank Purugly's Fake Out and Scratches as we fire back with Rock Smash for the clean 3-hit KO. That could have been scary, but we make it out of there with our Lone Wolf Grotle as we head to Eterna City. On the way there are a few mandatory trainers, including this whole section with Cheryl. But with no one to share XP with and all these mandatory double battles, True unfortunately gains too much XP, leveling up to level 21, then level 22, and then finally level 23. That means we're above the level cap, and with no other team members, we've got to reset the run. Fortunately, we're only one badge deep, so it shouldn't take long. This time, to make sure Rourke is consistent, we set up Withdraw on his Geodude to boost our defense for Cranidos. Geodude can barely touch us with Rock Throw, and we can take him out with an Absorb while recovering back our health. Onix can't touch us either, so a single Razor Leaf takes him out. Then, it's the moment of truth as Cranidos also fails to make a dent, letting us take him out with a few attacks. Technically, we would have been dead to a crit since that would bypass our defense boosts, but all we can do is cross our fingers and hope for the best. A quick trek back to Floroma Town, and we've just caught up with the last attempt. That difficult grunt battle from before gave us a little more trouble since Zubat kept flinching us with Astonish, but we just barely squeaked by on 1 HP to complete that mini gauntlet. Now, we're at a bit of an impasse here, because if we level up too much, then we would risk over-leveling again. But if we don't level up enough, our stats aren't good enough to handle Mars and her Purugly. The only encounter we can get now is Munchlax, but unfortunately luck isn't on our side, as a honey tree calculator showed that our 4 viable honey trees were placed after the second badge. So with none of these trees being able to produce a Munchlax, what can we do? Well, using a little bit of genetic modification, we can change the DNA of this tree to make it produce Munchlaxes through a process of altering its chemical thresholds to influence the organization of nurturing... Okay, fine, it's action replay. But this is me balancing Game Freak's awful decision making, because why didn't they make Munchlax a flat 1% across every tree? That's like, instead of having a 20% Gibble encounter in Wayward Cave, it's instead found on 10 random tiles, so happy searching. Well, regardless, we shake the tree and find our Munchlax, who's even holding the leftovers, so that passive recovery is gonna be huge at this point in the game. We catch him and name him Lax, and in the manga, Lax was a pretty lazy guy, just like his trainer. If he wasn't out relaxing, then he was probably eating whatever piece of food he could get his hands on. Honestly, my spirit animal, but more than that, he's also our ticket to getting past this XP roadblock. We lead with him against Mars' Zubat, and even though Zubat outspeeds and flinches us with a bite, on the next turn, we're able to fire off a Stab Tackle, which brings Zubat down to the yellow. So another tackle later, and we've managed to take him out without risking any toxic damage on True. Mars sends out Purugly, so I switch into True on the turn she uses Fake Out. On the next turn, we get outsped and need to tank a scratch, but then we can set up a curse of our own, boosting our defenses and giving us the upper hand. Purugly's next feint attack barely makes a dent, and she even procs her Oran Berry, but we use Rock Smash for a clean 2-shot. Purugly goes down, and Mars is defeated while keeping our team at a low enough level for the upcoming battles through Eterna Forest. With Cheryl rescued, we arrive at Eterna City for our next gym challenge. Here, we meet Cyrus at the Dialga/Palkia statue, which blew my mind when someone pointed out that it was supposed to look like Dialga and Palkia at the same time. In this configuration, it looks like these are the hind legs forming Dialga, and in this configuration, it looks like these are arms forming Palkia. The manga does a really cool recreation of the statue, but of course the remakes had to mess it up. Before we take on Gardenia, we explore around the city, including checking out the underground to grab the armor fossil. But since the rock-type Shieldon can hardly help us out against the grass-type gym leader, I didn't bother to backtrack for this one. Instead, we run around a bunch to boost Lax's friendship, not for the friendship evolution, but for our strategy against Gardenia. She leads with her own Turtwig, and we start the battle with Lax. Turtwig sets up a Reflect, but with our maxed out friendship, we can still deal a significant amount of damage with Return. On the next turn, Turtwig hits us with the Razor Leaf as our Return brings him down to the red. This causes Gardenia to heal, so we continue using Return until we can finally take the turtle out. Our leftovers is keeping us healthy in the meantime, but before going down, Turtwig sets up a Sunny Day for her incoming Cherrim, activating her Flower Gift ability and causing her to change forms. She sets up a Safeguard as we fire off Return to nearly take her out. Gardenia keeps trying to heal, but we keep bringing her down to yellow HP. As a last-ditch effort, Cherrim tries to use Grass Knot, but we can easily tank it and take her out with the Return. Last up is her Roserade, who fires off a powerful Grass Knot, but our follow-up Return barely misses out on the one-shot. We tank another Grass Knot and take out Roserade, winning us the battle and our second gym badge. Lax tries to evolve, but I'm sorry buddy, you gotta stay as a Munchlax since Diamond never evolved you. With the HM for Cut now at our disposal, we can make our way back through Eterna Forest to explore the old chateau, even impressing the babes with our bravery. We enter alone and nearly run into the ghost girl, but we're able to dodge any lingering spirits and make our way over to the haunted TV to grab the static Rotom encounter. In the manga, Rotom attacked our trio in the old chateau and even followed them into Eterna City, where it used the appliances to further terrorize them. Diamond ended up bonding with it, and they realized that the prankster was only trying to play with them. So, with Rotom on our team, we can change its forms in the Galactic Building for all new strategies, but in the Gen 4 games, when Rotom changes its form, it doesn't actually get a new type. We're stuck with Electric Ghost, but that Ghost typing and its immunities are gonna be huge for our playthrough. Oh, also, Diamond never gives him a nickname, so sticking with the 3-letter motif, I named him Rom as a reference to how most of us play these old games nowadays. Before we can even think of changing forms though, we need to clear through Team Galactic and take out the boss fight here, Commander Jupiter. She's another notorious run ender, as her Skuntank can dish out serious damage with Night Slash. She leads with Zubat, and I send out our new team member Rom, who can one-shot the blind bat with a single shockwave. This brings out her Skuntank, and since she's definitely going for a Night Slash, I switch into True to tank it. We're holding on to the leftovers, so we can start using Rock Smash, which even gets a critical hit on the first attack, and also lowers her defense on top of that. We tank the next Night Slash and connect with a second Rock Smash, getting a second defense drop. Skuntank Citrus Berry restores some health, and even though our leftovers is keeping us healthy, we're absolutely dead to a crit, so I switch into Lax to tank them. Then, a max-powered Return, combined with a double defense drop, is enough to take out Skuntank and win us the difficult battle. One mistimed crit and we could have lost someone, but like last time, we don't have many options besides crossing our fingers and hoping for the best. Now that Team Galactic's been cleared out, we could switch Rom to a superior Wash or Oven form, but I decided to keep him for now so we could spend time with his base form. Instead, with our newly acquired bike, we can backtrack to Orberg City to revive our armor fossil for our next team member, Dawn the Shieldon. In the manga, Dawn was originally owned by Byron, but the two of them struggled to get along. Instead, he got along better with Diamond, and Byron decided to let the two of them travel together. Dawn would act as the tank in their journey, and in a tense showdown against Team Galactic, he tanked 5 different attacks at the same time, even evolving into Bastiodon before taking out all 5 attackers with an Iron Head. Back in our adventures, we head through Mount Coronet where we bump into Cyrus again. The way he towers over us in this confined space is such a cool way to add some pressure to these small interactions, and also, this room being the one that we traverse through later on to get to Spear Pillar is so cool. And with that, we can make our way to Hearthome City, and oh hey Baneri.
If it weren't for you, who knows how far my Baneri could have run.
Lady, you need to take better care of your Pokemon.
I'm Kira, I'm a Pokemon contest judge. Be sure to drop by the contest hall so I can thank you properly.
Look, I'm flattered, but I'm gonna pass. Also, you're getting reported to the Contest Fairness Committee for such blatant cheating and bribery. Inside Hearthome, we can also find the first organized religion in the Pokemon world.
Make sure that you never judge a Pokemon on if it's weak or strong.
Yeah, I'm sure you and Karen would have some amazing conversations together. Maybe you should talk to her. We can't go any further since these random reporters are blocking you, so we need to get geared up to take on Fantina. She uses ghost types, which could spell trouble for our team, but with the right berries, I'm confident in our strategy. She leads with Duskull, and I start the battle with Lax. We're immune to their ghost attacks, but in return, they're immune to our powerful returns. On turn 1, Duskull outspeeds and lands a Will-O-Wisp, having our physical attack, but our held Rossberry lets us shake it off and fire back with a Lick. That's our only ghost coverage, and at 20 base power, it actually makes a decent dent. Duskull hits us with the Pursuit, and another Lick can bring her down to the yellow. Duskull then lands a second Will-O-Wisp, but Lax fires back with the critical hit to nearly take her out. Fantina definitely heals here, so I use this turn of momentum to switch into Dawn. We can use Swagger to not only confuse Duskull, but also boost her physical attack to cause her to hit herself for more damage. And right away, Duskull fails to land a hit and hits itself for a decent amount of damage. On the next turn, we can outspeed and use Taunt, which prevents her from using Will-O-Wisp on us, rendering her useless for this turn for the second time. Then, immediately after, Duskull gets a second self-hit, and to rub extra salt in the wound, we use another Swagger to make her hits do more damage. Since Shadow Sneak does the most damage, I'm expecting her to use that as I switch into Lax, and it pays off, but at a significant price. Duskull snaps out of confusion, and her taunt wears off, so now we're at risk to a strong attack. Her Pursuit doesn't do enough, as we fire back with Lick, which gets the para. So a little more back and forth, and Duskull goes down, although we're barely alive at 1 HP. Haunter comes out next, and we've got to switch. I send out True, as Haunter only goes for Sucker Punch, and on the next turn, Haunter outspeeds and lands a Confuse Ray, but we're able to break through it and set up a Curse. We dodge the incoming Hypnosis, and with our buffed up stats, we fire off a Razor Leaf, which even though Haunter resists it, is now a 2-shot thanks to the Curse. Haunter then goes for a Sucker Punch, but thanks to our defense boost, we easily tank it, and we break through for a Razor Leaf, which misses. Our bad luck doesn't end there, as Haunter successfully connects with a Hypnosis, putting us to sleep. But with our held leftovers and our defense boost, I decided to stay in, and we immediately wake up on the next turn to set up another Curse. Now Haunter's the one in trouble, as we tank another Shadow Claw before taking her out with another Razor Leaf. Her ace Mismagius is last, and she immediately outspeeds and confuses us with a Confuse Ray, but True breaks through and connects with a +2 Razor Leaf, getting the clean one-shot, and oh no. Mismagius gets some health back with the Citrus Berry, but now it's time to roll the dice again. She outspeeds with a Shadow Ball, which we can comfortably tank, as True, being the absolute GOAT, snaps out and connects with another Razor Leaf, finishing her off and winning us our 3rd gym badge. We barely made it out of that one, and just between you and me, I was totally willing to let Lax go down because he's starting to struggle to pull his weight in these battles. We make our way through the next route, and this is probably my lack of exposure to Sinnoh, but I climbed all the way up the little tower here, and the 2 grannies tell me that I need to use Defog. I don't even have Defog unlocked yet, so there's just nothing I can do at this point. And then I can't even use an escape rope to get out of here. I have to walk all the way back down. Very odd level design, but we can come back later to see what these grannies are hiding. We make our way through to Solaceon Town, where we can pick up a few items.
If you get me Pokemon that look like letters, I'll give you some seals.
Well, say less, buddy, because right next door is Solaceon Ruins, where we can hunt for an unknown D. We actually get it as our first encounter, so I catch him and name him D. In the manga, our trio briefly befriended an unknown D and unknown P, with D for Diamond and P for Pearl. These unknown needed our group's help to free their friends trapped in the Solaceon Ruins, but they never officially joined their teams. I know Unknown is generally seen as a weak or useless Pokemon, but this Unknown actually has a ground type as their hidden power, which we can see as Rom dodges the attack with Levitate. That's going to be decently useful at this point in the game, since True doesn't get ground coverage yet, and our other ground option isn't obtainable until much later. So with our new team member, we storm back into that house to collect our reward, the seal for the letter D. I spell out the letter D using our letter Ds, and we can test it out on ROM. If we had more letters, then maybe we could spell out something funnier, but for now, I'm happy with our little customization. Up north of Salacion, we can also get our next encounter, a Lickitung named Kit. In the manga, Kit started off as a Lickitung looking for trouble, as he used his long tongue to steal a Poketch. Diamond, dressed up as one of the Jubilife clowns, helped track him down to battle him, and Lickitung used Rollout. It rolled through Diamond's team like there were a bunch of bowling pins, and while battling against Dawn, it started evolving into Licky Licky. Okay, the translators did this guy so dirty. The pedometer?
Bruh.
Yeah, I heard this guy was just here to get a cupcake.
Well, I was actually coming out here to pick up a cupcake.
It's supposed to be the pedometer, which is an app on the Poketch that lets Diamond count steps to track down the wild Licky Licky. Diamond's able to catch him and add him to the team, and back in our adventure, we managed to do the same, rounding out our team to 6 members. Now, our next gym challenge is against Maylene at Veilstone City, and unfortunately, I made a big mistake here. While getting the team to the level cap, I accidentally pressed B while True was trying to evolve, and since we evolve at 32 and the level cap is exactly 32, we don't have any room to level up to get our evolution. But I wasn't too worried since Rom does such a good job of hard countering her team. Her fighting types can't touch us with their normal and fighting attacks, and our Levitate allows us to dodge Lucario's Bone Rush. I'll try not to make the battle too trivial with them though. So, as Maylene leads with Meditite, I start the battle with our unevolved True. We get faked out on the first turn, but Leftovers recovery keeps us healthy. We trade a strong Razor Leaf for Meditite's weak Rock Tomb, but that does drop our speed. Meditite's able to outspeed and hit us with a Drain Punch, but we can tank it and take her out with our next Razor Leaf. This immediately baits out Lucario, so it's time to bring out the ace up our sleeve. I switch into D on a resisted Force Palm, and on the next turn, we tank a Metal Claw before landing a powerful Hidden Power Ground. Oh, I guess that was a crit. Okay, maybe Unknown is pretty trash. I switch back into True to tank the next Metal Claw before tanking a Drain Punch on the next turn. This lets us use Rock Smash, but we just barely miss out on the kill. We go back and forth a bit, but True takes him out and secures us the KO. Then, against Machoke, I finally switch Rom in on a Rock Tomb, but the good news is, that's all Machoke has to hit us with. A Thunderbolt from the Veilstone Game Corner can finish him off, winning us a simple badge number 4. Upon leaving the gym, we help Platinum get her Pokédex back from Team Galactic, where Kit finally levels up to level 33 and learns Rollout. That lets us evolve into Licky Licky as we make our way down towards Pastoria City. Dawn also evolves here, since I didn't bother with his levels back in the Maylene fight, as he would have died to any of their fighting attacks. Now, before we go too far, there are a few things I want to knock out. First, we make our way back to Eterna City to finally give Rotom an appliance to use. I went with Rotom Wash since our team has a pretty glaring weakness to fire types, especially Pearls and Fernape. We also catch a Staravia to use Defog, just because I wanted to see what the deal was with those 2 grannies at the top of that tower, and they gave me a Cleanse tag and a Spell tag.
Bruh.
Nice, glad I did all that work for this. You guys suck, I much prefer my bathing grannies at Lava Ridge Town, at least they give you the Why Not egg. Back in Pastoria City, we get ready to challenge Crasher Wake, but first Pearl wants to go. We can easily take care of his team, including using our new Hydro Pump to obliterate his Monferno. And against Crasher Wake, it's a pretty similar story. He leads with Gyarados, but a quad-effective Thunderbolt absolutely destroys the poor guy. Floatzel comes out next, who manages to hit us with a hard crunch, but an Oranberry can heal us up a bit as we take him out with another Thunderbolt. Last up is his ace Quagsire, but a quick switch into True and a single Razor Leaf later, and Quagsire finally goes down, winning us our 5th gym badge. By the way, I even messed up the level cap because I thought it was 36, but I guess that's just how easy this fight is. As we leave the gym, there's some Team Galactic stuff to take care of, but we can easily beat them to impress Cynthia. She gives us the secret potion, so we can finally clear through the group of Psyduck Spice to make our way to Celestic Town. There's a Cyrus battle here, but it's not noteworthy at all. Dawn takes care of Sneasel, as well as his follow-up Golbat, and Kit steps in to take care of his Murkrow. With our new Surf HM, we can now make our way to Canalave City, where the next infamous run ender is. Pearl's here with the beefed up team, and he's rocking an entire Heracross. His Infernape's also fully evolved, and it was at this moment that I realized how weak we are to fighting attacks. They're both gonna have close combat later, and although Rom is our only switch-in, they always have ghost coverage like Night Slash or Shadow Claw. So this once goofy guy is now our #1 threat. I did a lot of prep for this fight, and let's see if it all pays off. He leads with Staraptor as I start the battle with Rom. Staraptor's Intimidate doesn't affect our special attacks as we can fire off with a Thunderbolt for the nice and easy one-shot. This baits out Floatzel because he sees a super effective Pursuit, but our held Colbur Berry can reduce that damage. In all honesty, I didn't realize Floatzel would come in so early because this berry wasn't meant for his weak Pursuit. Still though, it lets us tank the attack better as we fire back with a Thunderbolt for another one-shot. Heracross is next, and that's what the berry was for. A Night Slash is extremely threatening, but first we can outspeed and fire off another Thunderbolt. Heracross connects with the Night Slash, but we tank it before taking the Beetle out with another Thunderbolt. By the way, an Air Slash from Rotom Fan would have made this battle so much easier, but my countless hours of random battles has made me hate Rotom Fan, especially the stupid Air Balloon set, and I must have pushed that form out of my memory. Infernape comes out next, but he doesn't have Shadow Claw yet. All he can use is Flame Wheel, so a wide lens boosted Hydro Pump easily takes him out. Last out is Roserade, so I switch into True. Roserade sets up the Toxic Spikes, so we can set up a little with Curse. Roserade actually puts us to sleep with the Grass Whistle, but our Hell Chesto Berry wakes us up immediately as we set up another Curse. Then we're forced to use Cut, since True has sort of been my HM guy so far, and it nearly gets the one-shot. Their next Grass Whistle misses, so we connect with the next attack to take him out, winning us a well-deserved victory. Our next hurdle is Byron, who's rocking some powerful steel types. His lead Magneton can be dealt with by our quad-effective Hidden Power Ground, so I start the battle with D. But D's attack output is just so bad, and we barely miss out on the kill. In return, Magneton fires back with a powerful Thunderbolt, nearly taking us out, but we also barely manage to hang on. Byron's gonna heal here, so I stay in and use another Hidden Power. I thought maybe the first one was a bad roll, but no, it turns out we just can't do any real damage. I decide to switch into True on the next attack, but Magneton instead goes for a Tri-Attack. We're able to tank it pretty well as we take him out with a Rock Smash, which brings out Byron's Steelix. He's got Ice Fang, so I switch into Rom to tank it. Then our wide lens boosted Hydro Pump misses as Steelix only sets up a Sandstorm. But since Steelix isn't a rock type, he doesn't get the special defense boost, letting us connect with our next attack to one-shot the Leviathan. Byron's final Pokemon is his Bastiodon, and this guy actually gives us problems. His Metal Burst is basically a counter and mirror move wrapped up in one move, so we need to tread carefully. I first switch into Lax as Bastiodon nails us with a Stone Edge. My strategy is to go for Lick, not for the damage, but for the paralysis. We have a 30% chance for it to activate, and while we don't get it on the first one, after tanking a Stone Edge, our second one scores the paralysis. Then I switch out into Dawn so we can start going for Swagger. With the paralysis and the confusion, Bastiodon has less chances to connect if he goes for Metal Burst, and with everything set up, we bring Rom back out for the final blow. We connect with the powerful Hydro Pump, but Bastiodon survives on 1 HP. That's not sturdy, that's just sheer Bastiodon bulk. His Citrus Berry lets him heal a bit, but now we're 2 stages away from being wiped out by a Metal Burst. First is Confusion, but he snaps out on this exact turn. Next is Paralysis, but he dodges it and goes for an Iron Defense. That must be the throw of the century, because now we can connect with a Thunderbolt on the next turn, taking Bastiodon out and winning us our 6th gym badge. There's some Team Galactic stuff to take care of with Pearl and Platinum, but the Saturn and Mars matches aren't very noteworthy. What is noteworthy is our next encounter as we approach Snowpoint City, that being Moo the Swineup. In the manga, Moo was actually caught by Platinum because he reminded her of Diamond. She gifted him to Diamond and he instantly became a powerhouse on the team, being able to ram through walls with his powerful tusks. That's perfect timing because inside Snowpoint City, we meet Mindy, who offers us to trade a hard-earned Medicham for a Haunter. It's time to take on the Snowpoint City Gym, but before we can challenge her, guess who's hanging out at the Pokemon Center? That's a really nice touch, it makes the world seem that much more connected. Anyway, in order to prepare for the upcoming battle, we made a few preparations, including changing Rom into his oven form. We also go to the move reminder to teach Moo Ancient Power, that way he can unlock his caveman roots and evolve into the powerful Mamoswine. Against Candace, she leads with Sneasel, and I start the battle with True. We are quad weak to her ice moves, and I was gonna bring a Yachi Berry to guarantee us surviving Ice Shard, but I stored a Fergor, so we've gotta tank it. Luckily, it doesn't deal more than half, and a Rock Smash in return is able to take her out. Abomasnow comes out next, and she threatens Avalanche, so I switch into Rom. A quad effective Overheat with its accuracy boosted by the wide lens is enough to secure the knockout, but now as Frostlass comes out, it's not looking great. Her Snow Cloak ability gives her an evasion boost, so I switch into Lax on the turn she sets up Double Team. Then, as Frostlass continues to set up, I switch the weather using Sunny Day. This stops her blizzards from having 100% accuracy, but of course she connects on the next turn. I wish we had Thick Fat, but Lax is running pickup, so we need to tank a fairly hard hit. We fish for an attack with Lick as Frostlass keeps setting up Double Team, but we're able to bypass her +3 evasion and land a critical hit, even getting the lucky para. On the next turn, she misses a Blizzard as we instead connect with another Lick. Her Citrus Berry gives her some recovery, but on the following turn, she manages to connect with Blizzard, which does a little more than I was comfortable with. Our Licks aren't doing enough damage, so I switch into Dawn to sponge the next Blizzard. Then we can outspeed and land a Swagger, and that combined with the paralysis chance somehow still doesn't stop Frostlass as she connects with the Shadow Ball, but the damage is pitiful. We can go for an Ancient Power, but Dawn's special attack isn't very good, so Frostlass tanks it and snaps out of confusion, setting up yet another Double Team. Candace definitely heals here, so I use this opportunity to get a safe switch into Rom. Frostlass keeps setting up Double Team, so we can go for Shockwave to safely bypass her evasion boosts. It doesn't do as much as I would have wanted, and on the next turn, Frostlass changes her plans and uses Shadow Ball. We tank it and fire back with another Shockwave, but now we've got to switch out. Kit is immune to the Shadow Ball, but on the next turn, Frostlass connects with the Blizzard, which doesn't do enough to break through our bulk as we fire back with the Surf, which, despite the +4 evasion boost, manages to connect and take out her ace. Last up is Piloswine, but a few more Surfs from Kit can take her out, letting us win a fairly straightforward 7th gym badge. Next up is some Team Galactic story, but I spent a long time trying to figure out where to go. It turns out, you need to talk to this random grunt who agrees to give you the key to their warehouse. Maybe I mashed A too hard because I totally missed that and spent a considerable amount of time wandering around the entire region. With our new key though, we can team up with Looker and storm through the Galactic headquarters. A Pokédoll in the bed, now that's a nice touch. Cyrus is in the middle of a speech, and this moment is really so cool. To see all their little blue heads listening to Cyrus talk, this feels like something a fan game would do, but here it is in the mainline Platinum. We storm through the rest of the building, stealing their items, and taking out Cyrus on the way out. This isn't his final team, so the battle isn't challenging at all.
My fellow Team Galactic members, please scroll down and press the like button on this video, and also subscribe. It really helps me out, and I appreciate each and every... Oh.
They all left. Well, with all the grunts cleared out, we can make our way to the secret basements where Team Galactic conducts all their shady experiments. You came all the way here just to save some Pokemon? Well, I was just exploring around, but I guess I can do that too. Saturn, after all, is a total pushover, so we can easily defeat her and free the Lake Trio, but we're too late to stop Cyrus. He's already built the red chain, so we rush to Spear Pillar to put a stop to his plans. Mars and Jupiter try to stop us, but Pearl and I team up to take them out. I taught Kit the Flamethrower TM from the Veilstone Game Corner, so we can easily deal with the Bronzors. I also start using Surf to kill Pearl's Munchlax faster, that way he can send out the more useful team members like Infernape, Staraptor, and Floatzel. Yeah, we basically let Pearl tank all the attacks for this one, but hey, we're the ones doing the Hardcore Nuzlocke, not him. Unfortunately, it's too late as Cyrus uses the red chain to summon Dialga and Palkia, and in all the commotion, we get some unexpected visitors as well as Giratina breaks through into the mortal world. The Lake Trio jumps in, so Cynthia and I follow suit as we get ready to take on the endgame. It's my first time going through the Distortion world, and it honestly blew me away. Jumping around between the platforms feels so fun, Giratina flying above us adds so much to the uneasy atmosphere, and seeing a sideways Cynthia on the ledge as we struggle to solve the puzzles is a cherry on top. In order to exit this labyrinth, we've got to make our way down where Cyrus stands in our way. This is the last notorious run-ender, and we've brought a team prepared to take him on. Cyrus leads with Houndoom, so we start the battle with Moo. Houndoom loves using Will-O-Wisp, but he actually misses his attack. This gives Moo the opportunity to fire back with an Earthquake, which of course gets the easy one-shot. Cyrus sends out Gyarados next, and a Waterfall's gonna sting, so I switch into Kit to sponge it with her high bulk. On the next turn, we survive yet another Waterfall, dodging the flinch and firing back with a quad-effective Thunderbolt, which just misses out on the kill. Luckily, Cyrus always heals here, so we are completely safe to stay in and fire off another attack. This time, we do get the high roll, taking out Gyarados as Cyrus sends out his Honchkrow. I'm expecting a physical move, so I switch into Dawn, our best option to tank those. The Night Slash doesn't do enough, and Honchkrow's definitely switching to Heat Wave, so we're not a bad answer to his Crow. Honchkrow actually misses his Heat Wave, which lets us get off a Swagger to confuse him. On the next turn, he actually dodges the confusion and fires off a +2 Night Slash, but we can very comfortably tank it and fire back with the Rock Tomb of our own. Then, with his speed lowered, Honchkrow hits himself on the next turn, nearly taking himself out, but we end up missing our Rock Tomb. He then snaps out of confusion and, using our +2 against us, fires off a Night Slash into our Dawn. But it's all for nothing as another Rock Tomb connects to take him out, which now brings out Weavile. We get faked out for 2 damage, and on the next turn, we tank a soft Ice Punch before missing our Rock Tomb. We've got another shot here as Weavile fires off a second Ice Punch, which manages to freeze us. We can't thaw out, so I've got to switch into Moo. Weavile continues using Ice Punch, but a few Earthquakes later, and Weavile finally goes down. Last out is Crobat, but we've got a good answer to his bat, that being Rom and their Stab Thunderbolt. A single bolt is enough for the one-shot, winning us the battle and letting us continue forward. We got pretty beat up there, but the important part is we didn't lose anyone. True and Lax, I hope you enjoyed watching that battle because we were getting shredded out there. Lax, you're getting sacked at the first opportunity. Don't think that you're safe just because you're cute. We make our way over to the end of the path where Giratina challenges us to a battle, but truthfully, this one isn't difficult at all as Moo two-shots him with Ice Fang. So, with all the Distortion World story wrapped up, we can jump through the portal to make our way back to the real world to continue our gym quest. Sunny Shore's finally accessible to us, but with True and Moo on our team, this gym was never going to be a challenge. He leads with Jolteon, so we start the battle with Moo. Jolteon outspeeds with an Iron Tail, but we tank it and fire back with an Earthquake for the one-shot. Raichu comes out next, and fearing a Focus Blast, I switch into Rom. I guess it's not completely foolproof, but at least we can resist his Signal Beam and fire back with a Shadow Ball. Raichu then tries to set up with Charge Beam, but we can take him out immediately after with a Shadow Ball. Volkner sends out Luxray, but he threatens Crunch for Rom and Ice Fang for True. We've got a good switch in though, that being Dawn with his high defenses. We can tank his Thunder Fangs as we fire back with Metal Burst, returning his damage back to him to take him out. Volkner's last Pokemon is his Electivire, so I switch into Rom on a resisted Thunder Punch. We can outspeed and fire off a Shadow Ball, which is looking like a 2-shot, but his health Citrus Berry brings him back into the green. We go back and forth a little, and after Volkner heals, we're able to take him out with a few more Shadow Balls, winning us the battle and our 8th gym badge. With all badges collected, it's time to make our way through Victory Road to take on the Elite Four. We have a few close calls, like True not being able to take out a Rampardos, which lets him get off a Screech, and then True misses his next attack, so Rampardos nearly takes us out with Head Smash. But we can very fortunately tank it as he knocks himself out to the recoil. Arceus was definitely watching over us for that one, because that was too close for comfort. But with no other dangerous plays, we can make our way to the Pokemon League to prepare for our final gauntlet. Pearl actually ambushes us before the fight, which I knew was coming, but I didn't realize that this tile also activated his battle. Luckily, I was in the process of leveling up the team, so we're able to hold our ground. Rom takes out Staraptor with the Thunderbolt, as well as his follow-up Floatzel. This baits out Roserade because the AI sees the kill with Shadow Ball, but Kit can come in to sponge the attack and fire back with Flamethrower. Pearl actually switches out into Infernape, but we can switch to Surf to take him out. Heracross is next, and that coverage of close combat and Night Slash is devastating for our team, but a little bit of pivoting between Rom for close combat and Dawn for Night Slash lets us stall him out of the 5 PP for close combat, so once he's ran out, Dawn can safely come in and take him out with a few Iron Heads. We also set up a layer of Stealth Rocks, and that's a surprise tool that'll help us later. Pearl sends out Snorlax next, so I switch into True on a resisted Earthquake before taking him out with a few Earthquakes of our own. Last is Roserade, but with the rocks we set up earlier, he's dead on arrival as we've now cleared through the final rival fight. All that's left in front of us is the Elite Four, and we've got a great team to take them on. First up against Aaron, he starts with Yanmega as we lead with Moo. But with some speed EVs, we can outspeed on the first turn and connect with the Rock Slide, getting a clean one-shot before he can boost up his speed. This baits out Caesar, who wants to use Iron Head, so we switch into Kit. We're packing the powerful Flamethrower, and that's another quad-effective one-shot. Aaron sends out Heracross next, presumably to use close combat, so we can switch into Rom. Now, we're at risk to a Night Slash, but we can first outspeed and land a Thunderbolt. We're decently bulky too, so we tank the attack before taking him out with another Thunderbolt on the following turn. Aaron sends out Vespiquen, but Thunderbolt can one-shot her as well. That leaves his last Pokemon, his Drapion, but the poor guy can't really touch us. So a couple more Thunderbolts are enough to take out the Scorpion, winning us the first Elite Four battle. Bertha is up next, and she deals with ground types, but almost every member on her team goes down to a quad-effective attack. Her Whiscash can't survive a single Razor Leaf, which gets us an easy one-shot. Out comes Gliscor, so I switch into Moo. We can tank his Ice Fang while firing off with an Ice Fang of our own, and we can show him who's the better cross-gen evolution. Bertha sends out Golem next, so I switch into True before taking her out with another Razor Leaf. This baits out her Ace Rhyperior, who will always click Avalanche here, but I don't trust that True can break through her high defense with a pathetic Razor Leaf. So instead, I switch out into Rom, and with the held wide lens, we can land a quad-effective Hydro Pump to take her out. Last up is Hippowdon, but by once again targeting her weaker special defense, we can connect with another Hydro Pump to secure the KO, winning us the second Elite Four battle. Against Flint, we have so many answers to his team that this battle isn't even noteworthy. He starts with Houndoom, so we lead with Kit. We can sponge his Flamethrower decently well, but the Lucky Hound actually lands a 10% burn. Fortunately, that doesn't affect our attacks as we're only rocking special moves, as a super effective, expert belt boosted Surf can one-shot him in return. Flint sends out Infernape next, and I was expecting a Mach Punch, so I switch into Rom, but Infernape instead goes for Flare Blitz. Since Rotom doesn't actually get the type change with each form until Gen 5, Flare Blitz ends up being a neutral hit and does a decent amount of damage. But with our team being pretty weak to fire defensively, we need to tank another one, which we're able to do without a single drop of sweat. Rom then fires back with a Hydro Pump, which is a little sweaty, but we're able to connect and take Infernape out. Flint sends out Flareon, so we've got to switch out. I go into Dawn to tank the Overheat, which is the strongest attack he can throw at us. That keeps lowering their special attack as well, so we're completely free to set up a Stealth Rock and start chipping away with Stone Edge. With all the residual damage, we're getting a little low ourselves, so I switch into Kit on a -4 Overheat. Then, we tank a Quick Attack before taking Flareon out with a Surf. Rapidash comes out next, so I switch into Moo as Rapidash takes to the skies. On the next turn, his bounce connects, but we can fire back with the Rock Slide for the clean KO after the Stealth Rock chip. Finally, out comes Flint's Magmortar, who takes a bit more from the Stealth Rocks, but we stay in and fire off an Earthquake, outspeeding and knocking him out in one hit, making this 3 down with 1 to go. Our last obstacle is Lucian, who starts with Mr. Mime as we lead with Rom. We start the battle by outspeeding and firing off a Shadow Ball, which can secure an easy one-shot. This causes the AI to send out Espeon, who's gonna try and use Shadow Ball, so that gives us a clean switch to Kit. Espeon outspeeds on the next turn, landing a critical hit Psychic, bringing us down to the yellow, but we fire back with a Thunderbolt. That crit cut our time short, so we've got to switch into Dawn to resist the Psychic. That's the best Espeon can use against us, so we tank them as we fire back with Stone Edge, and this time we get the crit to take them out. This baits out Lucian's Glade, who's gonna try and use Drain Punch, so I switch into Rom. Then, a critical hit Shadow Ball is enough to take him out, but even without the crit, we had enough bulk to tank anything Glade threw at us, even if a Psycho Cut had crit us. Lucian sends out Bronzong next, so we stay in and start going for Thunderbolt. We do a decent amount of damage, but Bronzong decides to go for a Calm Mind instead. So on the next turn, we have just enough juice to squeeze out the 2-hit KO, letting Rom stay at full HP as his final Alakazam comes out. But this Alakazam isn't running Shadow Ball, so we can stay in and tank a Psychic before firing back with our own Shadow Ball, knocking him out and winning us the battle. Now, there's only one battle that stands in the way of our victory, and her team packs quite the punch. We use our last minute TMs to finalize our strategy, and with everything ready, we head in for the final fight. Cue the piano music. With her elegant dress flowing in the breeze, Cynthia lowers her head and sends out Spiritomb as we start the battle with Dawn. Spiritomb outspeeds us and fires off a Dark Pulse, which, even though we resist all her attacks, still manages to flinch us. We try again on the next turn, but this time, we're able to dodge the flinch and set up a Stealth Rock. With his job now complete, we stay in and continue tanking Dark Pulses as we fire back with Stone Edge. We do switch to Iron Head for the better accuracy, but after witnessing such a brilliant strategy, the AI learns and switches to Lucario to resist it. Of course, we miss our Stone Edge, so I need to switch into Rom on the incoming Aura Sphere. Then we can outspeed ourselves and fire off a Thunderbolt, which brings Lucario down to the yellow and even paralyzes him. He manages to break through the para and fire back with the Shadow Ball, but we can tank it. Another Thunderbolt later, and that's Cynthia's Fursona taken care of. At this point, Spiritomb comes back out, so I went for the easy kill, but after the Stealth Rock chip, the AI decides to heal with a full restore. Luckily, a Shadow Ball does more than half, so on the next turn, we can safely stay in and use another one to take them out. For some reason, Cynthia decides to send out her Garchomp, and all of a sudden, we're staring down her most intimidating Pokemon. But from Garchomp's moveset, 2 of them can't hit us since we retain our Ghost type in Gen 4, and we also have the Levitate ability. I use Protect to scout what she's gonna use, and we reveal that she's going for a Dragon Rush. We are definitely not living that, so I need a switch. I send out Dawn, who can resist the attack with his Steel typing, and that buys us another turn. Another quick Protect reveals that she's going for the obvious Earthquake, so now I need to make a decision. We can switch around between Dawn and Rom to use up her moves, but eventually Dawn won't be able to withstand all those Dragon Rushes. It's clear that no matter which way we look at it, someone's gonna have to go down. I look at Lax, our little warrior who's been with us since the beginning, and we both know it's time. Bringing him into the Elite Four already seemed too good to begin with, and even though he's the baby of our group, I'm sure he knows what he has to do. With one last look at each other, I get ready to send him out, but Dawn stops me. He looks at me with a great sadness in his eyes, not willing to let our little friend go. He's only a baby after all, with his whole life ahead of him. Dawn raises his heavy head, and I can sense the silent communication between us. I nod back, issuing one final command to attack. The arena shakes as Garchomp unleashes her powerful Earthquake, the very ground beneath us quivering in response. The dust settles, and from the center of the battlefield, Dawn finally collapses. But his sacrifice is not in vain. This gives us the opportunity to send out Kit, and after Garchomp mercifully misses a Dragon Rush, we can fire back with the 4-time super effective Ice Beam that obliterates her ace. Cynthia sends out Togekiss next, who does threaten Aura Sphere, but that's a safe switch into Rom. Then, a Thunderbolt is enough to one-shot him out of the sky without risking any of our health to do so. Milotic is up next, so we can first Protect to see what she plans to use. This reveals that she's going for Mirror Coat, and considering how bulky Milotic can be, we are definitely not going to be able to one-shot her. Since she's probably only going for Mirror Coat, we have a safe switch into anyone we want, and there's only one man for the job. Or I guess one baby for the job. We bring out Lax, who can outspeed and land a Toxic on the Sea Serpent. This now puts Milotic on a timer as she foolishly tries to use Mirror Coat. Then, on the next turn, our Quick Claw activates, allowing us to outspeed again and land a fast Attract. With the Love immobilizing her 50% of the time, the Toxic Poison racking up, and our max power returns chipping away at her health, we're able to fell this mighty serpent with just our little baby. Cynthia's last Pokemon is Roserade, and I can tell she's getting a little desperate. She sets up her own Toxic against us, but we respond back with another Attract. We're on the timer now, but on the next turn, Roserade actually wins the coin flip and fires off a Sludge Bomb, bringing us to the yellow as we fire back with a Return, which actually one-shots her. Roserade goes down, and that's Cynthia defeated, all thanks to Dawn's heroic sacrifice and the power of a boy and his max friendship baby.
Almost 2 years ago, I did a Hardcore Nuzlocke using Diamond's manga team, which means I brought a Munchlax to fight Cynthia. And this, we won. Almost 1 year ago, I did the same challenge using Platinum's manga team. That means I brought a Pachirisu to fight Cynthia. And this, we won as well. There's one member left for the Sinnoh trio, and today, we're finally using his piece of garbage, unevolved, stupid-ass team. Today, we take on the Pearl Manga Nuzlocke. And it all starts with picking up our starter. Once again, we've got updated sprites, and it did take a little bit of modding to get these working, so please, if you find yourself enjoying the video at any point, don't forget to leave a like, and of course, subscribe if you want to see more of my videos. Our rival is now updated to Diamond, so he ends up barging into our room and rushes us over to pick up our starter. And to go along with the manga canon, our first Pokemon is gonna be Chimler the Chimchar, who in the manga storyline was Pearl's starter Pokemon, just like how Diamond started with Turtwig. He would later evolve into Monferno and then Infernape later on, so I'm excited to have the best Sinnoh starter by our side. We can make quick work of our new rival, giving us access to Sandgem Town as we grab the Pokédex and officially start our adventure. That means Platinum will give us the catching tutorial, so with access to Pokeballs, our run has officially started. And for this section, our only other encounter is right here on this route, who's gonna be a Shinx named Rayler. In the manga, Pearl and Rayler were very close, but it didn't start off that way. They met when he was a Luxio living with a pack of wild Luxio and Shinx, but he was the outcast of the pack because his claws were broken, which had left him unable to communicate with the other Luxio. Pearl helped him come up with a new way to communicate, using some slapstick comedy as an inspiration, and the two of them parted ways for now. Much later on, the two of them would reunite when Rayler was already fully evolved, and Pearl instantly recognized him from his broken claws as Rayler now officially joined the team. And that concludes the catching section of this stretch, so we travel through Jubilife and take out our rival Diamond on our way over. That's a clear stretch to Orberg City, where we can make Rourke go back to work as we get ourselves ready for the first gym fight. We don't have the quad effective matchup like we would with the other two starters, but since Chimler learned Mach Punch when he evolved, we've got a great answer into his lead Geodude, taking him out in just 2 Mach Punches, as well as his incoming Onix, but his high defenses means he can tank them and lower our defense with Screech. We managed to break through, but that puts us in a bad position by the time his ace Cranidos comes out. I did have a plan for this though, since Rayler got the Chad Intimidate ability and not the Virgin Rivalry ability. We can switch in and nerf his attack while also helping us tank a Headbutt. Of course, this is really sweaty as 1 crit and we've got to reset. But since he doesn't get the 1 in 16 chance, we can stay in and fire off 2 more Mach Punches, just barely taking him out as we finish off badge number 1. Our next stop involves a little Platinum and Pearl team up, as we've got to help Professor Rowan deal with the Galactic Grunts. It's pretty cool to see their back sprites side by side like this, but the battles themselves aren't too difficult in all honesty, since it's just a quick story moment for us to knock out. Heading up the route, we can enter Ravaged Path and continue going north, but first, I wanted to stop and catch someone. Our next encounter should be a Diglett, but Diglett is not obtainable before beating the Elite Four. So my best solution was to find a good location for him and modify the game's code to squeeze him in somewhere. I ended up choosing Ravaged Path to act kind of like a headcanoned extension of Diglett's cave. So with our third team member acquired, we make our way into Floroma Town to help the locals with their Team Galactic problem. Inside the Valley Windworks building, there is a boss fight with Mars that's usually a pretty big run ender. But thanks to our newly evolved Luxio to take care of her lead Zubat, along with our stab Mach Punch from Monferno to two-shot our problematic Purugly, we can make pretty quick work of this section to continue heading through to the next gym. Before we head in though, we have one final, kinda useless encounter to knock out. On Route 205, right after we cleared out Team Galactic, we can catch ourselves a Buizel named Zeller. Pearl had caught him while training with Crasher Wake, but I'm gonna vent a little here. This encounter and the Diglett before are not allowed to evolve. In my recent runs, I've been allowing Pokemon that are under their evolution level to still evolve once they reach it. So that way, we wouldn't be handicapped by like Wise Fletchinder being level 34 when that series ended and Talonflame being level 35 to evolve. But Diglett ended the series at level 48, and Buizel ended the series at level 53. That shows that Pearl did not have the intention of evolving them, so to stay true to his character, we will unfortunately be stuck with these two unevolved team members. There is some potential, like Buizel matches up into Bertha, and both match up nicely into Flint, but obviously, if they were fully evolved, it would be much easier. Not that it really matters though, as our next gym leader directly counters both of these guys. We've got one answer for her grass types, so as she leads with Turtwig, we're going with Chimler to not use Flame Wheel, but we're stalling some turns with Rock Smash. I thought this was a smart strategy because Turtwig always tries to set up a sunny day for the Cherrim in the back, so after baiting it out, we can quickly take out Turtwig while staying at full health. Cherrim comes out next, and it does take a little to fully stall out the Reflect, but once it's gone, we can just one-shot with Flame Wheel. And lastly, Roserade is her final Mon, but she outspeeds us. The AI only goes for Stun Spore, so we have an opportunity for a Flame Wheel, just missing out on the one-shot. But the combination of the Citrus Berry and the Leech Seed from Cherrim means Roserade's not in heal range anymore. We've just got to survive a Magical Leaf, which we easily manage, so one more Flame Wheel can bring it home, giving us badge number 2. Our next challenge is gonna be the Eterna building takeover, and there's another infamous boss fight here by the name of Jupiter and her Skuntank. Once again, Rayleigh is our Zubat counter, but for her ace, the best we've got is Chimler. We need to pivot around a little to get some Intimidate attack drops, but once we're at a good moment, we bring Chimler back out to resist the Night Slash before finally taking her out with Flame Wheel to finish off the section. But before we go too far, we have to backtrack a bit. We've got to make our way all the way back before Eterna Forest, so while we make that track, I just wanted to give a quick reminder that if you're enjoying the video, it'd help me a lot if you could leave a like, or if you want to see more, then you can subscribe to the channel too. Right now it's just me doing everything, so any and all support really means the world to me. Okay, and while I've been plugging my stuff over here, we found ourselves a second Buizel and caught him, which helps unlock our 5th team member. There's an in-game trade in the Eterna condos where a little kid trades us a Buizel for his Chatot. That lets us unlock Chatler a little earlier in our journey, which I am excited for, but at the same time, it's a Chatot, like it still sucks in the stats department. That's our only new team member for this section, so we can make our way through Mount Coronet and have our little Cyrus encounter before arriving in Hearthome City for the next gym challenge. The Fantina fight is usually pretty tough, mostly because having a fully evolved Mismagius at this Gym 3 is a steep jump, but at the very least, we now have a normal type to be immune to her Shadow Balls. She leads with Duskull, and I thought our best option would be to start with Chatler. We've got Taunt to shut down her Will-O-Wisps, but Fantina instead chooses to use Future Sight, which means we are extremely safe to use Chatter for an easy 2-shot, securing us the first KO of the match. The Future Sight does connect now, but since it's from Duskull, that's hardly any damage. Haunter comes out next, but the Shadow Claw threat is neutralized, so I feel totally safe to stay in and use Chatter. Haunter manages to confuse us in return, but one more Chatter can finish her off and bring out the real challenge. Mismagius hits the field, and at 52 HP, we've gotta just send it. We fire off a Chatter, which unfortunately looks like a 4-shot, but at least we get a lucky confusion. Mismagius then fires back with a Psybeam, but it somehow misses. Well, I had completely forgot, but since we got confused earlier, our Tangled feat means Psybeam's accuracy got nerfed to 50%. This is my first and only time I've pulled off a Tangled feat strat, and hey, it worked out pretty well. Maybe these foot people are onto something. We can get a free switch into Railer thanks to the confusion, and after tanking a Shadow Ball, Railer fires back with a super effective bite, finishing off her final Pokemon and winning us a very crazy badge number 3. We have our 6th and final encounter available now, but we've got to make our way over first. We first take out Diamond again. I mean, seriously, the worst he's got is a double teaming Staravia, but we have the perfect accuracy Shockwave, and at least Zeller can have some time to shine and take out his Ponyta. The next route connects up to Solaceon Town, and with the farming aesthetic of this small town, I felt like this was the perfect place to modify our encounter pool and add Tauros. Also, Tauros is a Pokeradar encounter here. That's a post-game thing, but it just further adds to this being the perfect route. So in the manga, Pearl's main trio was Infernape, Luxray, and Chatot, and then he later on caught Buizel, Diglett, and Tauros. These 3 being late adds definitely sticks out to me, besides the obvious Diglett and Buizel not evolving, but Tauros as a random Gen 1 Pokemon? Yeah, the manga writers were definitely throwing darts at a board at this point. After making it through the rainy Route 215, we can finally arrive in Veilstone, first to splurge in the department store for some TM upgrades, and also to get a team upgrade as Railer evolves into his final form Luxray. But other than those changes, we're pretty much good to head in and challenge the gym leader. Maylene is the fighting type expert, leading with Meditite, as we've got the best answer in our lead Chatot. Except, since this guy's a trade encounter, obedience is unfortunately a factor here. Chatler disobeys us, and instead of using Chatter, this moron uses U-turn. Our strategy is completely gone now, as we're forced to switch into Toller, but at the very least, his Rock Tomb misses. We can steer a little and take him out with Return, but when Machoke comes out, I'm back to panicking. We switch into Chatler on, I'm gonna be honest, I thought this would be a fighting move, but we can luckily tank a Rock Tomb. Then, learning my lesson from before, instead of using U-turn, we can manually switch out into Toller on another Rock Tomb for Intim number 1. This is a tough steer. We go into Railer for Intim number 2 as Machoke uses Karate Chop, and judging by that damage, I think I might have been overthinking it. 2 Sparks can finish him off, giving us our second knockout and leaving only her ace Lucario. He's carrying the super effective Bone Rush, and I was pretty sure the AI would click that, so we switch into Toller as Lucario uses Drain Punch. Luckily, the Intim nerfs the attack, otherwise that would have done way more damage. And since he's now at -2 attack, I felt pretty safe to stay in and use Spark, which proves to be yet another 2-shot. But I'm pretty sure we are at risk to a crit Drain Punch, so to go with the safest option, we bring out Chimler for his support. 1 Flame Wheel later, and Lucario easily goes down, winning us badge number 4, and hopefully no more obedience nonsense down the line. Our next task is gonna be in Pastoria, so we headed through the beach resort to make our way over. By the way, if we didn't do the Chatot trade, this is where we'd normally catch him, so we'd miss out on that clutch U-turn against Maylene, and also being immune to Ghost for Fantina. Inside Pastoria, honestly, I didn't bother with the Great Marsh since I don't really need any items there, but I did teach Chimler a kind of a weird move. I taught him Grass Knot. It is for one very specific counter, which I don't even know if I'll have a chance to use. It's just one of those good to have kind of things. Chimler also reaches his final evolution as we get access to Infernape, and very fun fact here, this is our last evolution for the entire playthrough. Woohoo! I love this team! So without anything left to do in the city, we might as well head in to get our 5th gym badge. Crasher Wake starts the battle with Gyarados, and you already know we've got to start with Railer for the hard counter. Gyarados actually outspeeds us and hits us with a waterfall, but no flinch means a quad effective Spark can finish off his lead, and this immediately baits out his ground type Quagsire, so this is where we've got to pivot a little. My plan was to switch into Chatler on the Mudshot and start firing off Chatters to pray for a confusion. Instead, we get blessed with a critical hit, but it's not enough to take him out. Quag fires back with a Rock Tomb, dealing a decent amount of damage and dropping our speed, but it's just not enough as a couple more Chatters can finish him off. And that only leaves his ace Floatzel, who's definitely trying to use Ice Fang here, so we can bring out Toller for the Intim. Unfortunately, he does crit, but on the next turn, our max Friendship Return brings him super low, and the helpful Citrus puts him out of heal range. But his Brine also brings us really low, meaning we're in Aqua Jet range. I've got to play it safe, so we can bring out Zeller. Woo, what a contribution. Which then forces him to use Crunch as the best move, meaning we can bring out Chimler for the resist. One close combat later, and Crasher Wake has been taken down, winning us badge number 5. Now's the mandatory Team Galactic chase sequence, so we can follow the Grunt all the way to the Valor Lakefront to take him out in front of Cynthia, impressing our crush as she trusts us with the Psyduck medicine. I don't know why she makes us do this if she's just gonna strut in right after. Maybe it's a loyalty test. She sends us on another quest to find her grandma in Celestic Town, and I guess if we want a shot with the Great Cynthia, then we better start moving. You need Defog to navigate through the route, so I'm forced to waste a move slot on the already useless Chatler for this stupid game mechanic. But after a little bit of exploring, we can head into Celestic to take care of their Team Galactic problem. The Cyrus fight isn't noteworthy at all. I think he was just trying to get a feeler of how strong we are. So after Cynthia's grandma gives us the Surf HM, our next destination is gonna be Canalave City on the other half of Sinnoh. Now, the rival fight here is usually a problem for me. Out of all of the boss battles, I think I'd rank this one in the top 5, probably top 5 hardest battles if you don't have a hard counter. At least we have Railer to counter his lead Staraptor, who again goes for the lame-o double team strats, but luckily we're still packing Shockwave to bypass that cheese. Rapidash hits the field, and the best answer I came up with is Toller for an Intim drop. Max Friendship Return is a one-shot thankfully, but now he sends out the worst Pokemon to face, his Heracross. The combination of Stab, Brick Break, and Night Slash to punish our Ghost or Psychic types is just a lot for this point in the game. Railer can come out to drop his attack, but you can see his Brick Break does way too much damage. At least our Citrus helps a little bit, but ultimately, it's gotta be Chimler. We switch in now that he's -2 attack, and with a single quad effective Aerial Ace, we can outmaneuver him and score the one-shot. But that means Floatzel is out next, and since he's all physical moves besides Swift, we can bring out Railer for first an Intim drop, and then we can clean that up with Spark. And finally, Diamond brings out his starter True, and I'll tell you my thinking process here. I know Chatler's gonna be our answer here, meaning the best move Torterra can use against us is Bite. So to set ourselves up for that, I bring Toller out for an Intim drop, tanking a Razor Leaf on the switch in, and with the comfortable -1 attack set in place, we can bring out Chatler for the final blow. 2 chatters later, and Torterra gets taken down, letting us bypass this run ender and opening up the Canalave Gym. Now, for Byron and his Steel types, we've got a pretty nice strat here, and it involves an Asphere Berry. So he leads with Magneton, and we finally get a Diggler moment as we can outspeed and fire off an Earthquake, hitting him quad effectively and getting the one-shot. But this always baits out Steelix, and he's trying to use a super effective Ice Fang. So here's the genius strat I came up with. We switch into Zeller, giving our other useless member a chance to shine, so we can resist the Ice Fang. And not only that, but just in case Steelix gets the 10% freeze, we're holding an Asphere Berry to play around it. He doesn't get it, so one surf later, and Steelix almost goes down, but luckily he only sets a Sandstorm. A few surfs later, and the Serpent is felled, leaving only his Ace Bastiodon. But with the Sandstorm buffing his special defense, we've got to switch into Chimler to take him out. Now, just to be totally honest, Byron just set up an Iron defense, so we really need this close combat to kill. We connect, but it's not enough. If Byron clicked Metal Burst, we are dead, and we'd have to reset the run. I hold my breath, and Bastiodon throws by going for Taunt. One more close combat and Bastiodon goes down, giving us a very close win and making that Gym Badge number 6. It's now time for the mandatory Team Galactic segment, as they've set off an explosion in the nearby lake. So we've got to chase them down to Lake Valor to see what they're doing, taking out Saturn thanks to Toller's quad effective Zen Headbutt and learning of their plans at the other 2 lakes. We head back to Lake Verity, and there are some double battles here, but we've got a pretty good strategy of Diggler paired with Chatler. Diggler can fire off stab earthquakes into their two guys, while Chatler's immune with our flying type. Mars is here as well, but her fight's not difficult since we've got Chimler for her fat cat, which now only leaves Lake Acuity, but in order to access it, we need to win one more gym badge before we can scale mountains with rock climb. That gym belongs to Candace, and honestly, I think I cooked up the best strategy for her. She's got her infamous strategy of Abomasnow for setting up infinite hail, and a Frostlass whose entire strat is just evasion. I'll show you what I prepped. So first, against her lead Sneasel, we can start with Chimler and use Mach Punch, starting off the battle with an easy one-shot. And this baits out Piloswine next, but our close combat actually does enough damage for the one-shot, meaning that's half her team already. I was in shock here because Candace goes off script and sends out Frostlass right away, so our plan was completely ruined. I'll show you the original plan. So Abomasnow was supposed to come out and set up the infinite hail with their snow warning ability. We would then reset the hail using Sunny Day, which I went out of my way to get, and all we have to do is tank a Water Pulse. We're even holding a Persim Berry to play around the confusion chance from Water Pulse, and then we'd use 2 sun boosted Flame Wheels to finish the fight. Well, obviously that won't work now, so we need a new plan. Since we are -1 special defense, I've got to switch into Railer as Frostlass tries to pick us off with Psychic. She's going for her usual double team shenanigans, but since she can't rely on Hail anymore, we can still connect with a Crunch for huge damage. A Citrus means Candace won't heal, so after tanking a Blizzard, which luckily does not freeze, we can connect with the 100% accurate Shockwave to finish off her ace. Abomasnow finally decides to show its face, but Chimler can come back out since we saved his HP earlier, and a single Flame Wheel is enough to score us a KO, winning us a well-fought badge number 7. Wait, what's going on? Where am I? My fellow Team Galactic members, I know we're still going through with the Distortion World plan, but I need you all to be aware. The Masked Man has been spotted in Sinnoh, and we all know that he is specifically targeting non-subscribers of the MagnusPKMN channel, so please pull out your phones and check if you are subscribed. And you can like the video to be safe too. I can't afford to lose any of you when we are this close to launching our plan. Last week, we lost Jeremy literally right outside our headquarters, so no one's safe. Okay, thank you. What the hell is that? Well, you heard the man. We know Team Galactic's planning something in Mount Coronet, so it's our responsibility to head over and see what's going on. We find them red-handed at Spear Pillar, or should I say red chain-handed, and we get challenged by Mars and Jupiter for a double battle. Now, I'd love to take on both these ladies at the same time, but unfortunately, Diamond butts in and makes us a 2v2. We do get a legendary back sprite as we battle side by side, but I didn't modify his team, so he's still using his useless Munchlax. Poison kinda sucks, but I'm kind of hoping... Please stop stockpiling, buddy. I should have turn 1 close combated the Munchlax. With both the admins defeated, we're unfortunately too late, as Cyrus has been in the back working on his plan, and he brings forth both Dialga and Palkia into our dimension. But it looks like someone's piggybacked off of his summoning spell, as Giratina enters from a void black portal and grabs Cyrus into the Distortion World. Unfortunately, Cynthia shows up exactly right now, so we're roped into helping out to stop both Cyrus and Giratina. 3 rock tosses later, and the Lake Spirits guide us down towards the final confrontation, and probably the most difficult battle for our crappy team, the final Cyrus fight. He leads with Houndoom, and just wait till you see the amazing tech I brought for this fight. Chimler starts the battle by setting up with Stealth Rocks, which was a late addition to my planning, but I realized that literally every single team member is weak to Rock, so that'll be a free 25% on everyone as they switch in. By the way, I was expecting a Thunder Fang from Houndoom since we resist all his other moves, and we even brought a Cherry Berry for the chance of paralysis, but I don't know why the AI used Flamethrower. Either way, a close combat finishes him off, which means only 4 Pokemon remain. Gyarados is next, and while Railer is my counter, I can't directly switch into him since Gyara could use Earthquake. We go into Toller instead, and yep, he did use Earthquake, but we've got the weirdest strat here as Toller's packing Thunderbolt. Despite the quad effective hit, it's not enough for a one-shot or a two-shot, but since this forces Cyrus to heal, now's our free switch into Railer for the final blow. He does outspeed and use a scary Earthquake, but after 2 Intim drops, we're actually able to tank it. 1 Spark later, and that's Gara down. Cyrus sends out Weavile next, but we can very safely go back into Chimler to take him out with the quad effective Mach Punch, which now leaves only 2 Pokemon remaining. Crobat is a problem, but Railer with our old reliable Intimidate can come in, and despite the poison attacks wearing us down, we can connect with a super effective Spark for a clean KO. And that leaves his final Pokemon, which kinda puts us in a tough position. I'm sure we can tank a Night Slash, but I'm not sure if we have enough for a Night Slash and the poison. Our best bet is to go into Chimler, and knowing that Honchkrow's defense is pretty bad, we connect with the neutral close combat, and Honchkrow goes down. Cyrus is out of Pokemon, and we've just gotten past our worst run ender so far. That is the Distortion world taken care of, with Railer coming out to finish off Giratina 2 before we head back to the real world. Sunyshore is our final destination, and from the back of our party and from the bottom screen of our Pokédex, there's a little mole calling out to us. Seeing as our final gym is an electric type, at a whopping level 50, Diggler comes out against his lead Jolteon to spam the one and only move we need. Earthquake absolutely tears through his Jolteon, and Volkner realizes he's screwed. As a last-ditch effort, he brings out an early ace, but it's just not enough as Diggler takes his second kill of the match. Luxray's out third, no Intimidate thankfully, so one more Earthquake does it, but Luxray lives. He connects back with the Crunch, and it's boosted by his rivalry ability too, but Diggler hangs on. The invisible Focus Sash kicks in as we survive on actually 1 HP, meaning despite Volkner's heals, a few more EQs and Luxray goes down. Raichu's his last Pokemon, who's definitely going for quick attack here, so Chimler can help out his teammate and take him out with a close combat, giving us the Diggler and Chimler team up for our 8th and final gym badge. One last leg of the journey, we've got to make our way through Victory Road and take on the Elite Four. Not too many difficult battles here, a good deal of them can be avoided, so we end up arriving at the league in one piece. Diamond challenges us to one last battle, but since we've been prepping for the Elite Four level cap, we're way over leveled and take him out pretty easily. Only one gauntlet left, so with our team's final movesets decided, it's time to finish this. Aaron is up first, jumping into frame as he starts with Yanmega against our lead Chimler. It's Flare Blitz City over here, as we use not only one Flare Blitz, not only one Earthquake, since he's not Bug type anymore, we have to use 2 Earthquakes, not only 2 Flare Blitzes for the Heracross, and we're out of HP thanks to that recoil. Railer needs to help out against Vespiquen, taking her out with a super effective Spark, and you know what? Might as well finish off Caesar too with 2 more Sparks to win us the first Elite Four battle. Big Bertha is up next, and this one, okay, looking back, this one was not planned out well. Against her lead Whiscash, we've got Toller to help out, nearly taking her out with the return, but that means she has the opportunity to set up a Sandstorm for the rest of her team. We eventually take her out, but we'll also need to stall some turns for the Sandstorm to go out. At least she sends out Gliscor next, and although we've got the rare Ice Beam tech, I want to play it safe. We bring out Chatler on the EQ, avoiding it thanks to our flying type, and baiting out Thunderfang. My idea was to drop her attack at least once, but Gliscor's got Hyper Cutter. A complete brain fart on my end, so we just took unnecessary damage as Toller needs 2 Ice Beams to finish her off. Hippowdon comes out immediately after, setting up the Infinite Sandstorm as ability weathers don't wear off after 5 turns. Not gonna lie, we are definitely steering a little here as we switch around Chatler and Toller, trying to stack some Intims before we bring out our secret weapon. Zeller switches in, taking a -1 Stone Edge, but it doesn't even matter as the Hippo lands a critical hit. The Citrus helps out a bit, but we are staring down the barrel of a loaded Hippo shotgun. We've got to fully send it here, firing off a Surf, and it's nowhere near enough. Hippowdon fires back. And it misses. Fighting back from the brink of death, Zeller lands one more surf and washes away the hippo, leaving only 2 Pokemon left. Golem hits the field, and with the Infinite Sandstorm giving rock types a special defense boost, we both know Zeller's time is now. Just to keep giving it our all, we fire off one last surf, and Golem can't survive it. The quad effective is just too much as we outdamage the special defense boost, taking him out and leaving one final Pokemon. Her Ace Rhyperior hits the field, and Zeller and I both know this was too good to be true. We're still gonna go out with a bang, so with one last ditch effort, we fire off a final surf, and Rhyperior goes down. Zeller has just single-handedly swept through the most difficult members of her team, narrowly avoiding certain death and making that our second Elite Four victory. Third up, we've got Flynn, and this time, we finally got a dedicated answer to his fire types. Since Zeller just got his chance to shine, it's about time Diggler got a chance for a full sweep. And it is 5 Earthquakes, one after another, to absolutely obliterate each of Flint's team members, getting 5 easy one-shots, each boosted by a held Soft Sand, for our third Elite Four victory. Can you survive 5 Earthquakes at Diggler's? Apparently, Flint cannot. The Lucian fight, on the other hand, is a complete 180. I do not have good answers for his team, but I've come up with a decent strategy as a rough outline. He leads with Mr. Mime, as we've got Railer holding the black glasses. The idea was to spam Crunch at the start, but Mr. Mime's Reflect does put a damper on that plan. Still, we're able to take him out without taking too much damage, but Bronzong comes out next, wanting to use Earthquake. Chatler is a free switch to counter it, but the honest answer is, we don't really have a good answer. Honestly, Bronzor and Bronzong having Levitate and almost no weaknesses in Gen 4 make these guys probably the worst Pokemon to face in my opinion. I'm forced to bring out Zeller to eat the Psychic, hanging on in the yellow as our Citrus heals us up a bit, but now Bronzong starts setting up with Calm Mind. It sucks to do this, but Zeller's gotta take the fall here, considering our water coverage won't be as useful for the rest of Lucian's team or for Cynthia's. That's the only way we can safely bring out Chimler, and with one final Flare Blitz, we can finish off this guy for good. This actually baits out Espeon next, and considering how frail he is, we can just outspeed and one-shot with Flare Blitz. Actually, his follow-up Alakazam would be a problem, but with all the speed EVs we've picked up on our journey, I have faith in Chimler. We click Flare Blitz, and we outspeed. Alakazam goes down in one hit, leaving only one Pokemon left. Gallade hits the field, and this is where I've got to steer a little. This is definitely Psycho Cut, so I've got to switch into Toller to drop his attack with Intim. We tank the hit, and then we switch into Railer for a second Intim drop, as Gallade only goes for Drain Punch. At -2 attack, this shouldn't do too much, but he crits. But Railer hangs on. Our second Invisible Focus Sash procs as Railer's hanging on life support, switching into Toller for attack drop number 3, and giving us the best possible position. Toller, as we all know, baits Drain Punch. We've got to call on the only Mon who can do it, the only answer we've got, Chatler the GOAT, to come out. And with a Choice Specs boosted Stab Chatter, we connect for big damage, but it's just not enough. At least the Citrus means they're not in heal range, but Gallade fires back with a Stone Edge. And Chatler lives. No crit means we can tank the attack thanks to those 3 Intimidate drops, so one last Chatter and Gallade goes down, winning us a very well fought Elite Four gauntlet. Cynthia. The final fight against Cynthia is finally here. We're starting at not only a huge disadvantage as we're up against a 5v6 thanks to our previous death, but we're also rocking the useless Diggler and Chatler. So, as Cynthia starts with her lead Spiritomb, we've got one plan and one plan only to take her out. Chatler can fire off her Choice Specs boosted Chatters, finding a 2-shot and taking out her lead, but their Dark Pulses have brought us low. Our 1 HP survive won't be enough, and seeing as Togekiss is going to come out and bait random move, we've got to make sacrifice number 2. losing our parrot in the final fight, all for the clean switch. Rayler comes out to fire off Spark, and thanks to that little chip from Chatler, we can score the knockout to even out the playing field. But then Garchomp hits the field, and this is not good. This was earlier than I was anticipating, but we can still do our usual plan of dropping their attack with Intimidate. Earthquake is scary as always, but Toler's got that hidden tech in Ice Beam. We score a huge hit, and we freeze. Genuinely insane sequence of events, and a couple more Ice Beams can fell her dragon as we're now taking a commanding lead. Lucario comes out next, and we've only got one answer for her Fursona. Chimler switches in, and one super effective close combat later, and Lucario gets one shot. 2 Pokemon left as Cynthia sends out Milotic, and unfortunately, there's no clean switch. I can't have anyone coming in on a Surf, so with the heavy heart, it's time to make sacrifice number 3 as Diggler comes in to take the hit. Sorry buddy, you had a fantastic showing against Volkner and Flint, but now it's time to take a rest. We needed that for the free switch into Rayler, and although Milo does outspeed and connect with the Surf, a Spark plus a Para means we can outspeed on the next turn to finish off her Serpent. And that only leaves one Pokemon left. Roserade's out last, and looking at our team, we're pretty beat up, but we've got the main 3 left. I feel like throughout our entire playthrough, these guys were like our Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor, and now it's time for Cap to bring it home. A single Zen headbutt connecting despite its 90% accuracy lands for a huge blow on Roserade, taking out Cynthia's final team member and winning us the entire run. Guys, this one was my most ambitious team so far, so I really hope you liked it. This might be my final manga video for a little bit, so I'm glad to have finished the Sinnoh trio and gotten the most difficult team done. Honestly, manga videos aren't really doing numbers, and I feel creatively stuck when I do them, so I want to step back and make more challenges similar to my Fire Red Fully Evolved video. If you have any suggestions or just want to voice your opinion on the Manga Nuzlockes, please leave me a comment with your thoughts. I promise I read them and I'll respond to them as soon as I can. You can also leave a like or use that new hype feature if you're on mobile to show some support for the manga videos, or just to help me with the algorithm in general. Don't forget to subscribe to stay updated on my latest videos, and that's all I've got for now. A huge shout out to my channel members. You guys help me a lot when YouTube's algorithm isn't consistent, so a huge thank you. Alright, I'll catch you all in the next video. I'll see ya.